Chapter 35. Blood Soul Fruit, 300 years old, 19 pieces. Primordial Spirit Fruit, 100 years old, 13 pieces. Big Dipper Flower, 200 years old, 4 flowers. Level 9 Spirit Artifact, 4 pieces. A moment later, Lin Yi counted all the heavenly treasures and earthly treasures. These treasures could all be used by him and could greatly increase his strength. In fact, he did not obtain much in the mystic realm. However, each of them was incomparably precious. The main reason was that he had spent too much time in the ancient city and the divine dragon palace. He did not obtain much, but it was very, very big. Any one of them was enough to change a cultivator's life. The divine dragon 9 transformations, the heavenly phoenix divine seal, and the incomplete runes that led to the divine dragon palace. These were opportunities that could only be encountered by chance. The fortune obtained from the altar was far from as simple as treasures. He had received the baptism of 9 thunderbolts, causing his body to become even stronger. His dantian was 9 times larger than before, and the true essence in his dantian was 7-colored. No one knew about this at all. They only knew that he had broken through after receiving the baptism of the lightning arc, breaking through a realm with every step he took. The 17 treasures were what he was most curious about and looking forward to. He hoped that his luck was not too bad and that there would be 1 or 2 that were suitable for him. In the 9-fold space, the 17 treasures were sealed by 17 restrictions. However, he could tell that the seals were very simple. He only needed to use a little divine sense or true essence to unlock them. The existence of the seals was to prevent the treasure's spirituality and aura from dissipating. Lin Yi gently tapped one of the restrictions with his finger. Immediately, the restriction disappeared. The item inside appeared in Lin Ye's line of sight. It was a pill cauldron. It was only the size of a palm and emitted an ancient aura. It also emitted waves of pill fragrance. The pill cauldron kept spinning in front of Lin Yi. Sacred level. After sizing up the pill cauldron for a while, Lin Yi said. This was a sacred level pill cauldron, but he could not use it. At least for the time being, he could not use it because he was not good at alchemy and had no plans to do so. At least for now, he would not refine pills. Even if he wanted to refine pills, it would be a matter for the future. After saying that, he placed the pill cauldron to the side with a thought. Next, he opened the second restriction. After the second restriction was opened, the items inside appeared before Lin Ye's eyes. An egg. When Lin Yi saw the items inside the second restriction, he couldn't help but be startled. One of the most precious treasures in Sky Capital Peak was actually an egg. Was this a joke? Or perhaps his luck was too bad and he obtained a treasure that wasn't a treasure. However, he quickly came to his senses. The treasures in Sky Capital Peak were definitely not simple. For this egg to be classified as a super treasure, it was definitely not simple either. It was just that he could not tell what kind of egg it was. Was it an egg or a young egg? Lin Yi didn't know. He looked at the egg, which was the size of a bowl and emitted traces of fiery aura. After looking at it for a while, he put the egg aside. Next, Lin Yi opened the restrictions one by one. One treasure after another appeared in front of him. There were some that he liked, some that were suitable for him, some that weren't suitable for him, some that he couldn't see through, and some that he didn't regard as treasures. An hour later, he looked through all 17 treasures. 5 holy weapons, 2 cultivation methods, 3 martial arts technique, 3 sacred elixirs, an egg, a feather robe, a jade slip, a broadsword intent seed. Lin Yi looked through the 17 treasures one by one. He placed the treasures that were suitable for him on one side and the ones that weren't suitable for him on the other side. However, it was undeniable that these 17 treasures were definitely super treasures. Any one of them could shake the Yunshui kingdom. He didn't need the cultivation methods anymore. Because the 2 cultivation methods didn't suit him. He could cultivate all 3 martial arts techniques, and they were all sacred level martial arts technique. The feather robe had a terrifying defense. When worn, it could block 70% of the attacks. As for the jade slip, he still didn't know what was inside. He couldn't bear to use the 3 saint-grade elixirs for the time being, nor did he dare to use them. With his cultivation base and strength, using saint-grade elixirs would cause him to die instantly. As for the egg, he didn't know what to do with it for the time being. The broadsword intent seed excited him. With the broadsword intent seed, he could control the broadsword intent. By then, it would be easier to cultivate the second level of the tenfold destruction blade. With the broadsword intent, he could greatly increase the power of the blade radiance. Among the 5 holy weapons, only the longsword was suitable for him. After making his choice, he started to refine or deal with it. He would deal with the rest later. Sky-destroying finger. Destroy everything with a finger. Celestial Emperor Fist. Invincible Fist Radiant. Sky-freezing Aurora. Everything in its path is annihilated. The 3 sacred level martial arts techniques made Lin Ye's heart tremble. Each sacred level martial arts technique was divided into 7 levels. The power of each level was vastly different. As one's cultivation improved, the power they could unleash would be more terrifying and domineering. After calming down, Lin Yi exited the ninefold space. Ling got a holy weapon from the treasury of Sky Capital Peak, and a powerful cultivation method and martial arts technique. Brother-in-law, what about you? What did you get? Luo Xing voice reached Lin Ye's ears. She looked at Lin Yi curiously. She knew from Luo Ling that Luo Ling got 3 treasures. The best one was a holy weapon. The cultivation method and martial arts technique were both heaven-level martial arts technique. After all, Luo Ling had only reached the 4th level of the altar. Beside him, Luo Ling also looked at Lin Yi with curiosity in her eyes. 3 martial arts techniques and 2 cultivation method. 3 holy weapons and 3 sacred level spiritual herbs. And a young egg. When I entered the treasury, I was only allowed to choose these few treasures. After I finished choosing, the rest would come out. Ling Er's treasury should be the same. Lin Yi said. He left out a few treasures. But it didn't matter even if he did. Everyone knew that he had many treasures. Moreover, he didn't say what the treasures were. The 9th level is really different. Compared to the other treasures, it's countless times better. When I entered the treasury, I was only allowed to choose 3 treasures. When the rest came out, they were snatched by other warriors. Moreover, I don't know what those treasures are. Luo Ling nodded. When she entered the treasury, the situation was the same as Lin Ye's. It's just that the quality and quantity of the treasures she obtained couldn't be compared to Lin Ye's. Brother-in-law, these 3 Biluo fruits are for you. You're in the spirit movement realm. It's just right for you to use the Biluo fruit. Luo Xing was shocked for a moment. She took out 3 fruits from her storage pouch and handed them to Lin Yi. These were called Biluo fruit. Just like the innate spirit fruit, they could directly raise a warrior's realm. The restriction was that a person could only use 3. More than 3 would be ineffective. Of these 3 martial arts techniques, one is suitable for you. If you have time, try to understand it and see if you can succeed in cultivating it. Lin Yi didn't hold back and took the Biluo fruits. Right now, what he needed was cultivation strength. With the Biluo fruits, he could raise his cultivation by 3 levels and reach the 7th level of the spirit movement realm. This way, the time he could stay in the spirit movement realm would be much shorter. He could use more time to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly paths and other martial arts technique. Let's go back and cultivate. Anyway, there's plenty of time, Luo Xing said with a smile. A person's energy and time were limited. To be able to master 1 or 2 powerful martial arts techniques was already amazing. To cultivate more martial arts techniques, there was simply no time to waste. Moreover, cultivating in the secret realm was never safe. It would only be safe to return to a human city. Okay, the harvest this time was great. Let's not waste resources and opportunities. Lin Yi nodded and listened to Luo Xing. Luo Ling also agreed. Next, Lin Yi and the other two cultivated seriously in the cave, not letting go of any time to cultivate. Lin Yi was injured, so naturally, he couldn't cultivate martial arts technique. He could only cultivate the Luo water scripture and the 3,000 heavenly paths, as well as comprehend the divine dragon 9 transformations and the heavenly phoenix divine seal. There was also the celestial emperor fist, exterminating sky finger, and cold sky aurora. Cultivating so many martial arts techniques required a terrifying amount of time. With someone by his side, he couldn't enter the ninefold space, and could only cultivate outside. Beside a lake far away from Cloud Water City, the experts of the 4 major academies were waiting here, waiting for their own disciples to return from the secret realm. At that time, they would be able to escort these disciples safely back to the academy. New secret realm, new challenges, new opportunities. At the same time, it was accompanied by unknown dangers and death. Half a year's time is almost up. I wonder how many people will return. A super expert from the Azure Rock Academy said. He looked at the lake, which was the entrance to the secret realm. Everything in the new secret realm is unknown. If we can get a heaven-class martial arts technique, the overall strength of the academy will increase. The super expert from the Southern Wind Academy looked forward to it. However, this kind of thing couldn't be taken seriously or expected. Heaven-class martial arts techniques were something that could only be found by chance. Even if there was one in the secret realm, it wasn't something that ordinary people could get. This secret realm opens once a year. Go in a few more times and you'll be familiar with it. The expert from the Sky Sword Academy said with a smile. This secret realm was just discovered and didn't belong to any of the 4 major academies. It was shared by the 4 major academies. Other than the 4 major academies, even the disciples of the royal family weren't qualified to enter. Huangfu Jinglei of the Moon Kingdom is coming. This guy is indeed a monster. The super expert from Paladin Academy said with a solemn expression, as well as a hint of unwillingness. The super geniuses of the Moon Kingdom had all stepped on the geniuses of the Yunshui Kingdom to reach the peak. Every once in a while, the super geniuses of the Moon Kingdom would come to challenge and humiliate the martial artists from the 4 major academies. Every time, the martial artists from the 4 major academies would end in failure. Huangfu Jinglei of the Moon Kingdom could be said to be the most monstrous genius in the Moon Kingdom in the past 1,000 years. Level 9 of the Spiritual Maneuver Realm. He is invincible in the Spiritual Maneuver Realm. Even some normal Heaven Star border warriors are no match for him. I heard that the Moon Kingdom's army at the border is increasing, causing the people of the Yunshui Kingdom to feel uneasy. This can't go on. The expert from the Azure Rock Academy sighed. Whether it was the Moon Kingdom's national strength or Huangfu Jinglei's strength and talents, they were not something that the Yunshui Kingdom could compare with. In the past few years, the Moon Kingdom's army had been gathering at the border, and a war could break out at any moment. Boom! Just as the experts from the 4 major academies were discussing Huangfu Jinglei, there was a shocking explosion in the sky above the lake. The color of the sky changed, and the originally clear sky turned dark. In the void, a crack that was hundreds of miles long was torn open. Endless light shone from the crack. Chapter 36. The changes between heaven and earth made the powerhouses of the 4 academies excited. Because today was the opening day of the secret territory, the students in the secret territory would leave today. Originally, they thought that the opening time of the new secret territory was not fixed. Now, it seemed that it was not wrong at all. It would open on time. Suddenly, all the powerhouses looked at the lake and the sky. Endless brilliance sprinkled on the lake. In the void, black dots scattered towards the lake. The black dots fell at an extremely fast speed. Soon, the black dots turned into martial artists. Plop, plop, countless martial artists appeared from the brilliance, like dumplings being dropped. One by one, they fell into the lake with a plop. Some of the spirit maneuvering realm powerhouses reacted quickly. Their feet touched the surface of the water, and with the help of the lake, they flew towards the shore. They did not fall into the lake and become a drowned rat. When the secret territory opened, as long as the martial artists did not fall, they would be teleported out by the weapon spirit. After the martial artists of the 4 academies came out, they quickly went to the side of the powerhouses of their respective academies. Lin Yi, Luo Xing'er and Luo Ling-er were also teleported out. However, this time, the 3 of them were not separated. The 2 girls pulled Lin Yi on both sides. When they landed on the lake, the 3 of them revealed their identities at the same time and walked on the lake's surface. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. When the martial artists of Shengwu College saw Lin Yi appear, many of them greeted Lin Yi. Their faces were full of respect. Even some of the martial artists with higher cultivation than Lin Yi and Lin Yi also called him Senior Brother Lin. This situation made countless martial artists of Shengwu College puzzled and curious. After all, only a few people knew about the grand event of Sky Capital Peak. Most of the people who knew Lin Yi were at Sky Capital Peak and witnessed Lin Yi reaching the 9th step with their own eyes. Time passed by minute. Those who were still alive in the mystic realm had already come out. Those who hadn't come out meant that they had either died in the mystic realm, been killed by their own kind, or had become food for demonic beasts. On Shengwu College's side, more than 3,000 martial artists had appeared, and more than half of them had died. More than 2,000 people from the Green Rock Academy came out, but the number of dead was twice the number of survivors. The Sky Sword Academy had sent out 4,000 people, but half of them had perished. More than 3,000 people came out from Nanfeng Academy. The number of dead people was about the same as the number of survivors. In just one trial, more than half of the martial artists had died in the mystery realm. The death rate was shocking. This new mystery realm was rated as a middle-grade mystery realm. Many of the martial artists from the 4 great academies were discussing in low voices. As they discussed, they would occasionally glance at Lin Yi. Lin Yi also felt many gazes on him, but he responded with a smile, not caring at all. "Let's go back to the academy," the super powerhouse of Shengwu College announced. Then, he led the martial artists from Shengwu College away from the lake and ran towards the distance. The martial artists from the other 3 academies also left one after another. When they came, they used the transmission array to directly teleport them to the entrance of the mystery realm. When they returned, there was no transmission array, so they could only rely on themselves to run back. Escorting the martial artists from Shengwu College were several super powerhouses from Shengwu College. According to them, the entrance of the mystery realm was thousands of miles away from Yunshui City. It would take 5 days for a Xiantian martial artist to run at full speed. A spirit maneuvering realm expert would need 2 days. At the same time, the martial artists from Shengwu College also received the news that the number 1 genius of the Moon Kingdom had come to challenge the 4 great academies. Huangfu Jinglei was at the 9th level of the spirit maneuvering realm. He had a peerless emperor physique and was invincible in the same realm. With his strength, even an ordinary Heaven Dipper realm expert might not be his opponent. Huangfu Jinglei, peerless emperor physique. The Crown Prince of the Moon Kingdom. The 9th level of the Spirit Maneuvering Realm. He is invincible in the Spirit Maneuvering Realm. Among the Emperor Physiques, the Supreme Existence. Sai, the martial artists of the Yunshui Kingdom could never escape the trampling of the Moon Kingdom. For countless years, it was the Moon Kingdom that suppressed the Yunshui Kingdom. Even the Yunshui Kingdom's geniuses were suppressed. Some people said that Huangfu Jinglei wanted to bring Luo Bingyue and Su Ningyuan back to be his concubines. At that time, The Moon Kingdom's royal family would have 2 more geniuses with emperor physique. With the resources of the Moon Kingdom, it would be easy for them to become super powerhouses. Countless discussions spread among the martial artists of Shengwu College. Everyone was hurrying along while discussing Huang Fu Jinglei's matter to pass the time. Lin Yi did not participate in the discussion. He was with Luo Linger and Luo Xing'er as they rushed towards Shengwu College. Regarding Huang Fu Jinglei's matter, Lin Yi could only smile in response. So what if Huang Fu Jinglei was heaven-defying? It was none of Lin Ye's business anyway. Besides, Huang Fu Jinglei was not here to challenge Lin Yi. Moreover, even if Huang Fu Jinglei wanted to challenge Lin Yi might not agree. Brother-in-law, do you have the confidence to fight Huang Fu Jinglei? He is in the spirit-driving realm and can challenge anyone in the spirit-driving realm. He will definitely challenge my sister. When we left, my sister had just reached the 1st stage of the spirit-driving realm. She should be at the 4th stage of the spirit-driving realm now. She is not Huang Fu Jinglei's opponent at all. Luo Xing'er asked Lin Yi while they were running. She did not know what kind of talent Lin Yi had, but Lin Yi was able to reach the 9th step of the altar in the secret territory. His talent was definitely heaven-defying. If he met a genius like Huang Fu Jinglei, she did not know if Lin Yi would be able to fight against Huang Fu Jinglei. The most important reason was her sister. If Huang Fu Jinglei wanted to take away Luo Bingyue, she believed that not many people would be able to stop him. After all, Huang Fu Jinglei had the entire Moon Kingdom behind him. The Yunshui Kingdom could not do anything to the Moon Kingdom, and the Luo family did not have the ability to do so. This is the first time I've heard of Huang Fu Jinglei. He has a kingdom behind him. His motives are hard to fathom. Maybe he is here to suppress the geniuses of the Yunshui Kingdom. Lin Yi pondered for a moment. This was also the first time he had heard of Huang Fu Jinglei. He was an extraordinary genius. He was definitely invincible among his peers. Moreover, he was the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom. He had a powerful background. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to offend such a super genius. Brother-in-law, if Huang Fu Jinglei really challenges my sister, then he will take my sister to the Moon Kingdom. Do you agree? Luo Xing'er couldn't tell from Lin Ye's words whether he was going to attack or not. She couldn't help but worried that her brother-in-law and sister would really break up. This matter mainly depends on your sister. Don't you know that your sister and I have already broken the agreement? Don't mess things up between us. Lin Yi naturally knew Luo Xing'er's plan. However, he had already broken the agreement with Luo Bingyue. There was no marriage agreement between them. Luo Bingyue was free. Her actions had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Moreover, even if Huang Fu Jinglei challenged Luo Bingyue and pursued Luo Bingyue, it was between them. When he spoke, his tone was calm, but there was no room for negotiation. Luo Xing'er was stunned. Then she snorted. Her little face was full of dissatisfaction. Her delicate body flashed, and she ignored Lin Yi. She sped up and flew forward. Seeing this, Lin Yi just shook his head slightly and smiled. 5 days later, the martial artists of Shengwu College finally returned to Shengwu College. Lin Yi also returned to the Dark Ice Palace. Luo Xing'er went back before Lin Yi and ignored Lin Yi. When he returned to the Yunshui Kingdom, Lin Yi heard that Huang Fu Jinglei had come to the Yunshui Kingdom. Moreover, the army of the Yunshui Kingdom had gathered 3 million soldiers at the border of the Yunshui Kingdom. The name Huang Fu Jinglei was like a mountain that pressed down on the heads of countless elites of the Yunshui Kingdom. Celestial Archfist, a saint-level superpower. It is indeed difficult to cultivate. In the pavilion of the Dark Ice Palace, Lin Yi announced that he would cultivate in seclusion to improve his cultivation. The outside world had nothing to do with him. It could be said that he did not care about the outside world. Who cared about Huang Fu Jinglei or the Moon Kingdom? It had nothing to do with him. Now, what he needed most was to improve his cultivation level and strength. Inside the building, Lin Yi used a level 3 spirit talisman. This spirit talisman was called a restriction talisman. It didn't have any attack or defense because it was a support spirit talisman. After it was used, it formed a formation that isolated the outside world. People outside couldn't enter, and they couldn't see what was happening inside. After finishing all the preparations, Lin Yi could enter the ninefold space to cultivate. He had obtained several incredible martial arts techniques and divine weapons. However, it would take a long time to cultivate and master these martial arts techniques and divine weapons. Without luck, one person would not be able to master and cultivate so many martial arts techniques and divine weapons. The ninefold space was undoubtedly Lin Ye's biggest trump card. The ratio was 4:1. He cultivated in the ninefold space for 4 days, and only 1 day passed in the outside world. He had 4 times the time of others, and he could use it to cultivate and comprehend. Of course, although the ratio was 4:1, and the spiritual energy in the ninefold space was dozens of times more than outside, he would not use the time recklessly. Instead, he had a good arrangement. 1/4 of the time was to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly Tao, refine the blood-soul fruit, and improve his divine sense. 1/4 of the time was to cultivate the Luo Water Sutra, refine the Biluo fruit, and improve his martial arts realm. 1/4 of the time was to comprehend and cultivate the Divine Dragon 9 transformations and the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal. 1/4 of the time was to comprehend and cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist, the Heavenly Frost Aurora, and the Heavenly Exterminating Finger. The first 3 were not difficult. The most difficult part was to comprehend and cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist, the Heavenly Frost Aurora, and the Heavenly Exterminating Finger because these 3 martial arts techniques were saint-level existences. Saint-level martial arts technique. After the first month, Lin Yi had used up all the blood-soul fruits on him, and his divine sense had reached level 30. Level 30 divine sense was countless times stronger than level 25 divine sense. More importantly, after reaching level 30 divine sense, he had opened the 3rd seal of the ninefold space. After the 3rd seal was unlocked, the time ratio of the ninefold space had reached 8:1. At the same time, he had obtained a heaven-defying talent, Wings of Space. Although he needed to cultivate and could not use it now, he had indeed obtained it. As long as there was enough time, there was hope for him to cultivate it. With an 8:1 time ratio, he had even more time to cultivate. In the 2nd month, Lin Ye's cultivation had reached the 8th level of the spirit manipulation realm, and all 3 Biluo fruit had been used up. In the 3rd month, the Divine Dragon 9 transformations had reached the peak of the 1st transformation. In the 4th month, the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal had been successfully cultivated. In the 5th month, Lin Yi had successfully cultivated the 1st layer of the Heavenly Emperor Fist. In the 7th month, Lin Yi had comprehended the Heavenly Frost Aurora. In the 9th month, Lin Yi had successfully cultivated the 1st layer of the Heavenly Frost Aurora. In the 15th month, Lin Yi had failed to comprehend the Heavenly Exterminating Finger, so he left the ninefold space and stopped cultivating. In these 15 months, he had been constantly cultivating, comprehending, and practicing, making his nerves tense. 15 months in the ninefold space was less than 3 months in the outside world. Chapter 37. On this day, Lin Yi came out of seclusion and walked out of the pavilion. After leaving the pavilion, he scanned with his divine sense. The entire mystic ice palace was covered by his divine sense. Rank 30 divine sense. With a sweep of his divine sense, everything within a radius of 10,000 meters was under his control. This was the magical and heaven-defying power of divine sense. With him as the center, nothing within a radius of 10,000 meters could escape his gaze. None of them are here. Lin Yi retracted his divine sense. His face showed a trace of confusion. There was not a single person in the mystic ice palace. If it was Luo Xing and Luo Ling he could say that they went out to play. However, Luo Bingyue, who had been in seclusion, was also not in the mystic ice palace. This was what puzzled him the most. Generally speaking, Luo Bingyue would not leave the mystic ice palace. Even when he, Luo Xing and Luo Ling came back from the secret territory, Luo Bingyue did not come out. Then, he walked out of the mystic ice palace. Soon, Lin Yi heard the news from countless discussions. It turned out that the Baiyue Kingdom's Huangfu Jinglei had already arrived. After arriving at the Cloud Water City, he defeated 17 spirit-channeling realm 9th level cultivators in a row. Those who lost to him were all super geniuses. Among them, there was no lack of king physique geniuses. King physique geniuses of the 9th level of the spirit-driving realm were defeated by him in less than 3 moves. On the second day, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the 10 super geniuses of the Sky Sword Academy and won all of them. On the third day, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the 10 super geniuses of the Green Rock Academy and won all of them. On the fourth day, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the 10 super geniuses of the South Wind Academy and won all of them. Today, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the super geniuses of the Shengwu Academy. As long as they were in the spirit-driving realm, he would accept them. The super geniuses of the Yunshui Kingdom could not withstand a single blow from him. Even those who had been in the spirit movement mirror for decades were not his opponent. The prowess of Huangfu Jinglei made the prodigies of the Yunshui Kingdom feel immense pressure. They even realized that they were not prodigies at all. In front of Huangfu Jinglei, they were nothing. All the martial artists felt that their future was bleak, as if there was a huge mountain pressing down on their hearts. The battle stage was the battle arena of the Cloud Water Great City. The arena in Yunshui City was one of the busiest places in the entire Yunshui Kingdom. At this moment, the Gladiator Arena, which was 10 miles long and wide, was already crowded with people. Even though they knew that no one in Shengwu College could stop Huangfu Jinglei, as martial artists of the Yunshui Kingdom, they all came to the Gladiator Arena to watch the fight. Nan Yunfeng is also no match for Huangfu Jinglei. In Shengwu College, Nan Yunfeng is the number 1 under the Heaven Star border. Huangfu Jinglei is too monstrous. No one in the same realm is his opponent. I really don't know how strong he is. I believe that even a Heaven Star border realm elite would feel the pressure when facing him. The top 10 prodigies of the other 3 colleges were all defeated by him. This is what happened to Shengwu College. Damn it. Damn it. I'm so angry. Nan Yunfeng lost in 3 moves. He was defeated by Huangfu Jinglei in 3 moves. In the Gladiator Arena, 2 young men were fighting. The Gladiator Arena was surrounded by martial artists from the Cloud Water Great City. Seeing the super geniuses of Paladin Academy being defeated one by one, they felt powerless. They were even more terrified of Huangfu Jinglei's strength. They didn't know exactly how strong Huangfu Jinglei was. Whoosh! After Nan Yunfeng was defeated, a beautiful figure appeared in the Gladiator Arena of Shengwu College. The appearance of the beautiful figure caused a burst of cheers. Countless martial artists were stunned by this beautiful figure. This figure was the number 1 beauty of the Yunshui Kingdom, the goddess in the hearts of countless martial artists, Luo Bingyue. Luo Bingyue was an unparalleled beauty. She was cold and arrogant. She kept everyone 1,000 miles away from her. Her otherworldly temperament made her seem like an otherworldly goddess. In addition to her emperor physique, she was definitely the best target for countless super geniuses. At this moment, as a student of Shengwu College, she naturally had to stand up. Even if she was defeated, she would not run away. Luo Bingyue. Luo Bingyue. For a moment, the cheers shook the sky. Even though they knew that Luo Bingyue was no match for Huangfu Jinglei, she was still the goddess in the hearts of all the prodigies. Luo Bingyue. Not bad. You are the crown princess of the Moon Kingdom. Huang Fu Jinglei's slender body stood proudly in the center of the gladiator arena. His hands were behind his back, and he looked very confident. Even though he had fought countless battles, he still looked calm and collected. When they saw Luo Bingyue appear, their eyes lit up, and their hearts trembled. Luo Bingyue's cold temperament moved everyone's heart. Huang Fu Jinglei's tone was like that of an emperor who could not be disobeyed. After this battle, you can go back to the Moon Kingdom. Luo Bingyue's voice was as cold as her. There was no emotion in her voice. It did not match her age at all. When she spoke, she used the heavenly ice skill, and the temperature of the gladiator arena dropped rapidly. After the opening of the new secret realm, Shenwu College had taken out a lot of resources to train her. After she entered the sacred martial palace, her cultivation had reached the 6th level of spirit formation in just half a year. Even so, her cultivation was still far from Huang Fu Jinglei's. Luo Bingyue, the difference between you and me is too big. This crown prince is not interested in your talent. You are not my match. It would be bad if I hurt you. To be honest, Yunshui Kingdom does not have a decent prodigy. There is no need for the Yunshui Kingdom to participate in the next prodigy battle. Huang Fu Jinglei said indifferently. There was a smile on his face from beginning to end. However, what he said made all the prodigies angry. What he said was the truth, and no one could refute it. Without the confidence and strength to refute, they could only suppress the anger in their hearts. His words trampled all the prodigies of the Yunshui Kingdom. This was a world where the strong were respected. The strong preyed on the weak, and the weak could only be trampled on. The strong were respected and had dignity. The weak were trampled on and had no dignity. Heavenly Ice Sword Technique. Luo Bingyue glanced at Huang Fu Jinglei coldly. She slashed out with the long sword in her hand. Suddenly, countless cold sword rays burst out, and the gladiator arena was covered in frost. Spirit Formation Mirror, mobilizing true Yuan and triggering the heaven and earth spiritual qi. As she attacked, wind and thunder rumbled and the sky changed color. Myriad Finger. With his hands behind his back, Huang Fu Jinglei completely ignored Luo Bingyue's attack. When the sword light arrived in front of him, Huang Fu Jinglei pointed out with his finger. A terrifying force distorted the space and collided with the sword light. Crack! Crack! For a moment, the sword rays and the finger force collided, bursting out a terrifying sound. Although the attack was ineffective, Luo Bingyue did not stop. The long sword in her hand continued to slash out. Her figure flashed, leaving behind a moon-white afterimage on the gladiator arena. Huang Fu Jinglei turned into a blue shadow. The two figures constantly touched and separated. Around the fighting arena, countless experts who were watching the fight were shocked beyond word. Because they did not expect that Luo Bingyue could fight with Huang Fu Jinglei for a few moves without being defeated. One must know that Nan Yunfeng, who was known as the strongest person under the Heaven Realm, was defeated in the third move. Luo Bingyue was only at the 6th level of the Spirit Formation Mirror, but she was so strong. She was even stronger than Nan Yunfeng. Countless people were looking forward to this scene. They were looking forward to Luo Bingyue defeating Huang Fu Jinglei. But everyone knew that it was impossible because Huang Fu Jinglei was too heaven-defying. After a short while, the two figures separated. A slight sound was heard. A bloodstain appeared on Luo Bingyue's moonwhite dress. There was also a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her whole person looked miserable. It was obvious that Luo Bingyue was defeated. On the side, Huang Fu Jinglei still had his hands behind his back, looking confident and relaxed. Puchi Luo Bingyue turned to leave the gladiator arena, but she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her beautiful face showed a trace of pain. She endured the pain and walked out of the gladiator arena. The super-strong cultivators of Shenwu College quickly took out healing pills and let Luo Bingyue heal. Although the 4 colleges had super-strong cultivators, they were not allowed to participate. This was the rule. However, even if they did not participate, the super-strong cultivators would still maintain order and not let anyone make trouble. Xingu College, there is no one who can take one move from me, Huangfu Jinglei said with a smile. The 4 colleges of the Yunshui Kingdom represented the geniuses and strong cultivators of the Yunshui Kingdom. Now that Huangfu Jinglei had defeated the strongest geniuses of the 4 colleges, he had once again trampled on the geniuses of the Yunshui Kingdom. Countless martial artists were furious. However, they could only be angry and hate themselves for not being strong enough. Otherwise, they would have gone up to Huangfu Jinglei and beaten up Huangfu Jinglei to wash away the shame of the Yunshui Kingdom's geniuses. After hearing Huangfu Jinglei's words, the gladiator arena was silent. Sister, how are you? Luo Xing looked sad when she saw her sister injured. However, this was Luo Bingyue's mission. Although she had a holy body now, she was still no match for Huangfu Jinglei. If she went up, she would be humiliated and her talent would be exposed. It would not benefit her at all. Luo Bingyue shook her head and then began to circulate her energy to stabilize her injuries. Brother-in-law. When Luo Xing looked up, she saw a familiar person. She couldn't help but call out. Then, she pouted. Obviously, she was angry. So you are here. Let's go. The battle is over. Lin Yi nodded. When he saw Luo Xing's expression, he couldn't help but find it funny. His eyes fell on Luo Bingyue. When he saw Luo Bingyue's injuries, he said lightly. It was unclear whether he was talking to Luo Bingyue or Luo Xing. Okay. Although Luo Xing was angry with Lin Yi, she still agreed obediently. That day she was just angry. She wasn't angry with Lin Yi. However, what made her angry was that Lin Yi deliberately went into seclusion during this period. In her opinion, Lin Yi went into seclusion to avoid trouble. After that, Luo Xing and Luo Ling stepped forward to support Luo Bingyue. They were about to leave with Lin Yi. However, when they were about to leave the gladiator arena, they were stopped by someone. Brother-in-law? Are you Luo Bingyue's fiancé? Huangfu Jinglei's voice sounded. Chapter 38. What does that have to do with you? Lin Yi stopped, but he didn't turn around. His tone was calm, and he didn't even intend to look at Huangfu Jinglei. Countless people were shocked that he dared to speak to Huangfu Jinglei like this. A toad lusting after a swan. Scram far away from this prince. Huangfu Jinglei was stunned. This was the first time someone had spoken to him like this. This was a blatant disregard for him. A mere youth without a martial soul dared to speak to him like this. He was simply courting death. Originally, when he heard that Lin Yi was Luo Bingyue's fiancé, he wanted to kill him. In his opinion, Luo Bingyue was his future crown princess, and he viewed her as his exclusive property. What if I don't? Lin Yi smiled and said. From the beginning to the end, he didn't turn around. From his behavior and tone, it was obvious that he didn't want to see Huangfu Jinglei. He was provoking Huangfu Jinglei with his actions and tone. If you don't get lost, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Huangfu Jinglei said coldly, his tone filled with endless killing intent. This was Cloud Water City. Although he couldn't kill Lin Yi here, he had thousands of ways to make Lin Yi suffer a fate worse than death. With your strength? Or with your identity as the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom? Lin Yi turned around, his eyes filled with contempt. These words shocked the hundreds of thousands of spectators around the arena. Everyone's eyes turned to Lin Yi. They didn't know what this youth was thinking. They also didn't know why this youth was so arrogant. He dared to belittle Huangfu Jinglei and humiliate Huangfu Jinglei. What he meant was that he doubted Huangfu Jinglei's strength. He said that Huangfu Jinglei could only rely on his identity as the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom. Other than that, he was useless. How much courage did he have to say such words? It's a shame that Xingu College has a student like you. You have the guts to step onto the arena. Huang Fu Jinglei's face was cold, and the killing intent in his eyes was unbridled. As long as Lin Yi dared to step onto the arena, he would beat Lin Yi to a state worse than death. If he was willing, he could even directly eliminate Lin Yi. However, killing Lin Yi would be beneath his status. There was a rule in the battle arena. As long as one stepped onto the battle arena, life and death would not matter. With just a little bit of strength, you've become arrogant. I didn't want to fight. There's no point in fighting and killing. But today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your father. A smile appeared on Lin Yi's face. Under the shocked gazes of countless martial artists, he walked towards the arena step by step. In the eyes of all the martial artists, Lin Yi was just a youth who stood outside the arena and talked nonsense. He didn't dare to enter the arena at all. If he wasn't in the arena, Huang Fu Jinglei couldn't do anything to him. Therefore, he teased Huang Fu Jinglei in order to please his goddess. However, they didn't expect that Lin Yi would really dare to enter the arena. The experts of Shenwu College revealed helpless expressions when they saw Lin Yi's actions. Lin Yi entering the arena was exactly what Huang Fu Jinglei wanted. It would be strange if Huang Fu Jinglei didn't cripple him. Outside the arena, hundreds of thousands of martial artists were watching. Their eyes were fixed on Lin Yi and Huang Fu Jinglei. Luo Xing-er's eyes revealed excitement. Although she hadn't known Lin Yi for a long time, she knew a little about Lin Yi's character. He wouldn't easily make a move if he wasn't certain. Now that Lin Yi had made a move, she could see how strong Lin Yi was. Don't be nervous. You can leave here alive today. Huang Fu Jinglei smiled when he saw Lin Yi enter the arena. At the same time, he was surprised and puzzled. He didn't know whether Lin Yi was a fool or a madman, or if he had some ability. If he didn't have strength, then Lin Yi was a fool and a madman. Only a madman and a fool would come to die. Similarly, you can leave here alive today. Because you're not qualified to die in my hands, at least not now. Lin Yi smiled and said. As he spoke, he walked step by step toward Huang Fu Jinglei. In the end, he stopped 100 meters away from Huang Fu Jinglei. He glanced at Huang Fu Jinglei. To be honest, Huang Fu Jinglei was indeed a handsome man. He was handsome and elegant, and was the male god in the hearts of countless women. Good, very good. From today onwards, remember one thing. Luo Bingyue is the crown princess of the Moon Kingdom. Huang Fu Jinglei was furious. The young man in front of him was too hateful. He didn't listen to him at all. However, he didn't use his martial arts. He didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. Very confident. Very arrogant. You don't look like you're going to make the first move. Then, I'll give you some pointers. Lin Yi's smile was still on his face. His tone was calm and he was calm. He didn't feel the slightest pressure or panic when facing Huang Fu Jinglei. It was as if he was facing an ordinary person. This indifferent state of mind made countless martial artists feel surprised and impressed. As he spoke, he drew a sword with one hand and used his finger as a sword. The seventh sword of the thunderclap sword technique was displayed at this moment. Suddenly, the space was pierced by a sword light and it went straight to Huang Fu Jinglei. His movements were elegant and his power was unparalleled. At this moment, Huang Fu Jinglei's face showed a trace of seriousness. Although he wasn't afraid of this sword light, he was shocked that Lin Yi had cultivated the thunderclap sword technique to the seventh sword courtyard. Such a person was definitely not comparable to ordinary geniuses. He punched out and met the sword light. Boom! With a loud explosion, the sword light and the fist light collided. You have some strength, Huang Fu Jinglei said indifferently. However, neither of them rushed to each other. Instead, they stared at each other and activated their martial arts. They were ready to burst out a destructive attack at any time. Is that so? I hope you can keep pretending. Lin Yi had a smile on his face as he pinched his sword. A sword light cut through the space and sprinkled towards Huangfu Jinglei. Since he had already made his move, he would not give his opponent a chance. If his opponent wanted to pretend, it was his opponent's business. He would not pretend. Hiss hiss in the space, a sword light distorted the space. Using his finger as a sword, the sword chi was released with a terrifying sword intent. Each sword light was terrifying and overbearing. It was enough to kill any powerhouse below the 8th level of the spirit realm. Countless sword lights appeared together. Even a heaven realm powerhouse would not be able to gain the slightest advantage. Thunderclap sword technique, 7th sword. Using his finger as a sword, the sword chi was released. I really didn't expect him to be so strong. I underestimated him. Turns out that he is a genius. In thousands of years, he is the first to cultivate the thunderclap sword technique to the 7th sword. How long has he been cultivating? He has already reached the 7th sword. No wonder he dares to challenge Huangfu Jinglei. However, he is still not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent. Outside the arena, hundreds of thousands of martial artists were shocked when they saw Lin Yi display the 7th sword. However, even so, they believed that Lin Yi was still not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent. Let me show you what Thunderclap is. Huangfu Jinglei was also surprised. However, he did not regard Lin Yi as an opponent because he did not put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. As he spoke, he waved his hand and a destructive arc fell from the sky, striking towards Lin Yi. Born with a thunder body, the attack was terrifying and overbearing. He who controlled thunder was invincible among his peers. Not to mention that Lin Yi was one level lower than him. No matter which aspect, Lin Yi was not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent. Humph! Lin Yi snorted coldly with a trace of disdain in his voice. If it was any other type of attack, he would have to take it seriously. However, since it was a lightning-type attack, he didn't care about it at all. Staring at the lightning bolts in the air, he shook his head and continued to execute the thunderclap sword art, causing a tyrannical sword light to erupt forth. Rumble rumble, the electric arc struck Lin Yi's body without any suspense. This was because Lin Yi didn't even try to block this electric arc. The terrifying arc disappeared from Lin Yi's body. In everyone's eyes, the overbearing arc was a destructive attack. When it landed on Lin Yi's body, they could already guess what would happen to Lin Yi. However, what shocked countless martial artists was that Lin Yi was not affected at all. Huangfu Jinglei thought that the lightning would seriously injure Lin Yi, but when he saw the result, he almost vomited blood. What a terrifying defense! He directly ignored Huangfu Jinglei's attack. This arc, even a spirit formation realm expert would not be able to block it. Indeed, any martial artist below the 5th level of the spirit formation realm would definitely fall in front of this arc. Who would have thought that Lin Yi would directly ignore it? How terrifying is his physical defense? He, in the secret territory, received 9 lightning bolts. The arc in the secret territory, compared to Huangfu Jinglei's, was more than 100 times stronger. That kind of power did not kill Lin Yi, instead, it allowed Lin Yi to temper his body. Huangfu Jinglei's arc naturally could not do anything to Lin Yi. Around the battle arena there were hundreds of thousands of martial artists. Among them, there was no lack of Heaven's Pride experts. Seeing Lin Yi block Huangfu Jinglei's attack, they were extremely shocked. Some of the martial artists who had seen Lin Yi in the secret territory, Tiandu Peak, knew how powerful Lin Yi was. Even the arc in the secret territory could not kill Lin Yi. Huangfu Jinglei's arc was undoubtedly just scratching an itch for Lin Yi. Damn it! Huangfu Jinglei heard the discussions of countless martial artists and was shocked. He finally understood why Lin Yi dared to block his attack. It turned out that Lin Yi was immune to lightning. In other words, his arc was not as powerful as the one in the secret territory. If his arc was stronger, then Lin Yi would be seriously injured or even killed. Qi. In that moment of distraction, Lin Ye's sword light landed on Huang Fu Jinglei. A bloody wound appeared on Huang Fu Jinglei's arm. The bright red wound was extremely glaring. This was Huang Fu Jinglei's humiliation, to be injured by a young man he didn't even care about. This was the first time that he had been provoked and humiliated since he came to the Yunshui kingdom. Thunderstorm, destroy everything. Huang Fu Jinglei was furious. He was high above everyone else and looked down on everyone else. It was an insult that he was injured by Lin Yi in front of hundreds of thousands of martial artists. If he did not defeat Lin Yi cleanly and severely injure him, then he would become the joke of all the martial artists in the Yunshui kingdom for the rest of his life. In the future, he might even be traumatized. He could no longer be careless and relaxed. The terrifying talent of an ultimate emperor body was displayed. An overbearing fist of light smashed toward Lin Yi. The space was constantly being torn apart by the thunderstorm. They were 50 meters apart, but in the blink of an eye, the fist of light was right in front of Lin Yi. The speed and power of the fist had reached a terrifying level. At this moment, the sword Qi and sword Qi that Lin Yi had unleashed had all turned into nothingness. They had all been shattered by the fist light. It looked like the fist light was about to land on Lin Ye's body with its destructive power. Chapter 39. In front of hundreds of thousands of martial artists, Huang Fu Jinglei's destructive punch landed in front of Lin Yi. The speed and power had long exceeded the imagination of the spirit-moving mirror. Some of the Heavenly Dipper realm experts couldn't help but feel shocked and fearful when they saw this fist light. Even if they were in the Heavenly Dipper realm, they might not be able to withstand this attack. If this attack hit, no matter how strong Lin Ye's defense was, he would be seriously injured or die. The martial artists of Xingu College began to worry for a moment. Countless martial artists even covered their eyes, not daring to see the scene of Lin Yi being seriously injured. Earth Dragon Transformation, Heavy Strike. Lin Ye's heart skipped a beat when he saw the destructive fist of Huang Fu Jinglei. However, he soon calmed down. Huang Fu Jinglei was indeed strong. Of course, if Huang Fu Jinglei wasn't strong, he wouldn't have been able to challenge all the strongest geniuses of the Cloudwater Kingdom. With a light shout, the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations was activated. Suddenly, his physique became incomparably strong and his strength was terrifying. In addition, he, who cultivated the invincible attack, increased his attack by 2 times in the first level. At this moment, twice the strength of the Earth Dragon erupted. Boom! With a punch, the fist light turned into the shadow of an Earth Dragon. In the blink of an eye, the 2 fists collided. Strong Qi shot out in all directions in the air. The air was distorted, and the space trembled as if it was being torn apart. Lin Ye's body was pushed back more than 10 steps. Huang Fu Jinglei was the same. He retreated more than 10 steps before stopping. The terrifying attacks of the 2 were evenly matched. Rumble, rumble, boom, boom, the 2 retreated, but they didn't stop. Instead, they sped up. The fist light constantly intertwined and bombarded each other. The arena was filled with explosions, and the terrifying wind wreaked havoc in the space. Lin Ye's cool breeze following shadow had already reached the peak of perfection. Huang Fu Jinglei's movement technique was also incomparably magical. The battle between the 2 was completely a competition of strength and speed. In the air, as the 2 fought, it constantly trembled. Xingu College's Lin Yi is so strong. He can actually fight with Huang Fu Jinglei without being at a disadvantage. Why haven't I heard of him before? He didn't participate in the entrance competition. He entered Xingu College with Luo Bingyue. Their strength and speed have long surpassed the spirit-moving realm. Even the average Heavenly Dipper realm expert might not be able to defeat them. I didn't expect the battle of the spirit realm to be so exciting. Will Lin's victory. Of the Yunshui Kingdom of the Moon Kingdom of the Yunshui Kingdom of the Kingdom. It'll be difficult. Huangfu Jinglei is a genius with a peerless emperor physique. Behind him is the Baiwei kingdom, so he doesn't lack resources. He must have a lot of trump cards to train someone. Indeed. Lin Yi is just an ordinary disciple of Shengwu College. He doesn't have many resources. The battle in the arena was incomparably exciting. Destructive forces wreaked havoc. The two figures constantly collided. Every punch would distort the space, causing it to tremble. The hundreds of thousands of martial artists who were watching the battle outside the arena were trembling. They were discussing incessantly. Die. Just as countless martial artists were shocked by the battle between the two, Huangfu Jinglei's cold voice rang out. His voice was filled with endless killing intent. When his voice rang out, Huangfu Jinglei's fist radiance was several times stronger than before. His fist fiercely blasted towards Lin Yi. The space was directly torn apart. One could imagine how powerful this punch was. Ignorant. Lin Yi waved his hand and circulated all the true yuan in his body to the extreme. The Celestial Emperor Fist was performed at this moment. As soon as the Celestial Emperor Fist was performed, the sky suddenly changed color. The magic and dominance of a saint-level martial skill was displayed before the eyes of all the martial artists. Seeing the changes in the sky caused by Lin Yi's Celestial Emperor Fist, all the martial artists were shocked. Huangfu Jinglei's face was also filled with shock. The Celestial Emperor Fist was incomparably domineering. It moved forward bravely and ruled the world. Its aura suppressed everything. In an instant, the Celestial Emperor Fist and Huangfu Jinglei's fist radiance violently collided. Boom! The collision of the fist radiance completely shattered the space within 10 meters of the two into pieces. The power of the Celestial Emperor Fist directly shattered Huangfu Jinglei's fist radiance. Huangfu Jinglei's fist radiance disappeared. Then, there was a burst of bloody light. The fist was shattered by the Celestial Emperor Fist. Pfft! Huangfu Jinglei let out a blood-curdling scream. His body was like a broken kite as he was sent flying backward. In the end, he landed heavily on the ground. Lin Yi's punch had severely injured him. One of his arms had been shattered into pieces. The power of the Celestial Emperor Fist distorted the space. Lin Yi stood motionless in his original spot, his expression calm. He looked calm, but he was shocked. He did not expect the first stage of the Celestial Emperor Fist to be so terrifying. It directly injured Huangfu Jinglei and shattered his arm. He was only at the spiritual maneuver realm. If his cultivation was higher, the power of the Celestial Emperor Fist would be unimaginable. Not to mention that the Celestial Emperor Fist was only at the first stage. He could not imagine how powerful it would be at the peak of the 7th stage. Old Huangfu, don't be presumptuous. You can't afford to break the rules. Just when Lin Yi was seriously injuring Huangfu Jinglei, not far from the arena, a loud voice rang out. At the same time, a horrifying pressure came and covered the entire arena. Whoosh! Whoosh! A series of voices rang out. Around the arena, more than 10 super-powerful figures appeared. These voices were all from Shengwu College. Everyone looked at the super-powerful figures from Shengwu College in surprise. They could not help but feel shocked and angry. This was because the super-powerful figures from Shengwu College were surrounding a white-haired old man. The white-haired old man was emitting a horrifying aura. He was looking coldly at Lin Yi in the arena. At this moment, the warriors watching outside the arena understood. Huangfu Jinglei's protector wanted to save Huangfu Jinglei. He even wanted to kill Lin Yi. He did not want to see Lin Yi grow. "In Tian, do you want to fight with me?" The white-haired old man looked at one of the super-powerful figures from Shengwu College and said calmly, "Why don't you try it here?" The Crown Prince of the Moon Kingdom came to the Drifting Cloud City to challenge the geniuses of the 4 colleges. Now that he has been beaten, you want to protect him? The royal family of the Moon Kingdom is a joke to the world. Yin Tian was a super powerful figure from Shengwu College. He had surpassed the Heaven Star border. Even in Shengwu College, he was one of the top figures. However, his strength was slightly weaker than the old man from the Huangfu family. However, this was the drifting cloud city. Even this old man would not dare to cause trouble here. Otherwise, he would be courting death. The battle is over now. I will take him away from the Yunshui kingdom. Huangfu Qingdong glanced at Yin Tian. As for the super powerful figures with Yin Tian, he did not even look at them. He looked away and calculated in his mind. Then, he spoke in a cold tone. He knew that he would not be able to gain anything here. If an accident happened and Huangfu Jinglei died here, it would be over. Huangfu Jinglei was the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom and the #1 genius of the Moon Kingdom. As he spoke, he walked towards the battle arena. Stop. You can't enter the battle arena. Yin Tian's figure flashed and appeared in front of Huangfu Qingdong, stopping him. At the same time, a powerful formation appeared around the arena, isolating it from the outside world. Junior, send Huangfu Jinglei out. Huangfu Qingdong gritted his teeth in anger. The battle arena was indeed not a place he could enter. Although the battle arena was a place for fighting, one could not enter after reaching a certain level of cultivation. This was the rule of the entire Sky Sea realm. In the Sky Sea realm, the various kingdoms and warriors had to abide by many rules. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, they wouldn't dare to violate these rules, nor would they violate them. He looked at Lin Yi and said loudly. His tone was completely arrogant and bossy, as if he was giving an order. Of course. Lin Yi glanced at Huangfu Qingdong and said indifferently. He naturally knew that this old man wanted to get rid of him. In his heart, he had already remembered this old man. Now that he was giving him an order, it made him feel disgusted and repulsed. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of warriors who were watching the battle focused their attention on Lin Yi. Hearing Lin Ye's reply to Huangfu Qingdong, countless warriors looked at Lin Yi with disdain. Bang! Lin Yi walked in front of Huangfu Jinglei and looked at Huangfu Jinglei with disdain. At this moment, one of Huangfu Jinglei's arms had been smashed into pieces by Lin Ye's heavenly emperor fist. Huangfu Jinglei's face was pale, and he did not have much combat strength left. He stared at Lin Yi fiercely. If looks could kill, Lin Yi would have been killed countless times. Seeing Huangfu Jinglei's gaze, Lin Yi smiled and kicked Huangfu Jinglei's body. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from Huangfu Jinglei's body. Huangfu Jinglei was kicked away like a dead dog and finally landed on the edge of the arena. Junior, you're courting death. Huangfu Qingdong was so angry that he wanted to tear Lin Yi into pieces. How dare he humiliate Huangfu Jinglei like this in front of him? This was a disguised provocation. Huangfu Jinglei, I said that you can leave here alive today. You have to be honest and keep your word. There's one more thing you have to remember. Don't float if you have a little strength, because I like to step on those floating things and make them unable to float again. To be honest, I really don't take you seriously. A peerless emperor physique is just a joke. Lin Yi walked out of the arena and looked at Huangfu Jinglei, who was dying, and said lightly. After that, he opened the array and walked out of the arena. There were rules in the arena. The winner could easily open the array and come out. It was wishful thinking for the people outside to go in. Crash! Just as Lin Yi left the arena, he felt the threat of death in his heart. This was also because his divine mind was strong and he was naturally sensitive to danger. When the threat of death appeared, a destructive attack bombarded him. This attack had already exceeded the scope of his imagination. If he was hit by it, there was no way he would be able to survive. This sudden turn of events caused countless martial artists to be horrified. Yin Tian and the others from Shengwu College were also shocked. They didn't expect that there would be other super experts besides Huangfu Qingdong. Their goal was to kill Lin Yi. Chapter 40. The terrifying pressure and overbearing attack caused the space to tremble wherever it passed. Lin Ye's face was filled with shock. This was the first time he had encountered such a terrifying attack, and also the first time he felt such a strong threat of death. It was also the first time he realized that death was so close to him. Earth Dragon Transformation. Absolute defense. The threat of death made him subconsciously use his strongest defense, praying that he could escape this calamity. As long as he could escape this calamity, the super experts of Shenwu College would have a chance to save him. The first stage of the Divine Dragon 9 transformations, the defense and physique of the Earth Dragon transformation, were activated. In front of him was a Taiji light and shadow shield. Boom! The destructive palm print fiercely bombarded the absolute defense of the Taiji light and shadow shield. The Taiji light and shadow shield blocked the palm print for a moment before dispersing. Lin Ye's body was exposed in front of the palm print. The palm print pressed forward and fiercely imprinted on Lin Ye's body. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was thrown backward and finally fell to the ground. Poochie! He fell to the ground and spat out another mouthful of blood. His face was pale and powerless. His whole body was in pain as if it was about to fall apart. However, he still survived and was not killed by the palm print. This was a blessing in disguise. At this moment, the hundreds of thousands of martial artists outside the battle arena finally saw what had happened. Everyone was looking at Lin Yi, who was lying on the ground. Immediately after, they shifted their gazes to a black-robed cultivator not far from the battle arena. Just then, that destructive palm had been unleashed by that black-robed cultivator. The super experts of Shenwu College were overjoyed when they saw that Lin Yi had survived. As long as Lin Yi could withstand the attack and not die, they would have a chance to save him. At the same time, all the experts were shocked by Lin Ye's defense and physique. He could actually withstand the attack of a manifestation realm expert and not die. This kind of defense and physique was absolutely heaven-defying. One had to know that a manifestation realm expert was in existence that surpassed the heavenly Dipper realm. They controlled the power of all manifestations of heaven and earth. The power of one attack was shocking. Not to mention Lin Yi, who was in the spirit maneuvering realm, even a peak heavenly Dipper realm expert would fall or even vanish after being hit by a manifestation realm expert. Damn it. Poochie. Lin Yi struggled to get up and looked at the black-robed expert. If it weren't for the Earth Dragon transformation, absolute defense, and the feather robe he was wearing, he would have definitely fallen by now. Thinking up to this point, he couldn't help but shudder in fear. At this moment, his thirst for cultivation had reached an extreme. Let's go. The black-robed expert glanced at Lin Yi and snorted coldly. His figure flashed as he was about to leave. He had already launched a sneak attack on Lin Yi in Yunshui City, which was against the rules. If he didn't leave quickly, he would definitely be killed by the super masters of Shenwu College. Even if Shenwu College didn't do anything, the royal family of the Yunshui Kingdom would. You want to leave just like that? I'm afraid there's no such good thing in this world. Lin Yi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly. As he spoke, he circulated his true essence. With a single thought, the Skyflame's sacred blade appeared in his hand. Suddenly, an incomparably sharp blade will erupted, and the power of the sacred weapon soared to the sky. At this moment, the space was constantly stirred by the power of the sacred weapon. The sky and earth changed color, and the wind and clouds rolled. With Lin Yi as the center, the temperature within a kilometer instantly became terrifying. The ordinary spiritual mirror could only quickly retreat as it couldn't withstand the terrifying temperature. The Skyflame's sacred blade exuded an unparalleled flame power. Sacred weapon! The black-robed expert and Huangfu Qingdong saw the Skyflame's sacred blade and felt the terrifying pressure of the sacred weapon. Their expressions changed. They didn't expect Lin Yi to have a sacred weapon. And it was a terrifying sacred weapon. The spiritual mirror had a sacred weapon and could control it. It was too heaven-defying. Tenfold destruction blade, slash. Lin Yi endured the pain and slashed the Skyflame's sacred blade in his hand toward the black-robed expert. Suddenly, an unparalleled flaming blade light with blade will cut through the space and arrived above the black-robed expert. The combination of the sacred weapon and blade will was terrifying. Too weak. The black-robed expert looked at the blade light and shook his head. If Lin Ye's cultivation had reached the Heavenly Dipper realm or even the All Creations realm, he wouldn't be able to withstand this attack. However, Lin Yi was only in the spiritual mirror. His cultivation and strength couldn't hurt him at all. However, the black-robed expert's expression changed as soon as he finished speaking. This was because he realized that the power of the blade light had increased countless times in an instant. It had become a killing blow. By the time he realized it, it was already too late. Boom. Crack. The blade light landed on the black-robed expert and suddenly burst out with a terrifying sound. The wind in the space raged as the blade light tore the air apart. Then, the black-robed expert could only hold on for a second before he couldn't resist the blade light. One of his arms was neatly cut off by the blade light. The terrifying inertia blasted the old man dozens of meters away. Pfft. Lin Yi and the black-robed expert spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The black-robed expert had been severely injured by Lin Yi. On the other hand, Lin Yi was already severely injured. Following that, he used the Skyflame's sacred blade to perform the tenfold destruction blade. His body couldn't withstand it at all. Suddenly, he sat on the ground and no longer had the strength to fight. Die. Yin Tian was delighted to see the black-robed expert severely injured. He ignored Huang Fu Qingdong and appeared beside the severely injured black-robed expert in a flash. An unparalleled all-creations force crushed the black-robed expert's body into pieces. Whoosh! Whoosh! Huang Fu Qingdong was furious. He didn't expect that the all-creations realm expert's sneak attack couldn't kill Lin Yi and was even seriously injured by Lin Yi. Now, he was reduced to nothingness. He couldn't help but feel afraid. He wasn't afraid of the experts from Shengwu College, but the young man who used the sacred weapon. The young man in the spiritual mirror had a terrifying defense and controlled a domineering and destructive attack. Such a person was invincible in the same realm. If he grew up, it would be unimaginable. But at this moment, he didn't dare to hesitate. Despite being injured, he grabbed Huang Fu Jinglei and fled towards the outside of Cloudwater City. The super experts from Shengwu College chased after him. Several terrifying injuries appeared on Huang Fu Qingdong's body. Senior Yin, let Huang Fu Jinglei go. Lin Yi shouted when he saw the super experts from Shengwu College chasing after Huang Fu Qingdong and Huang Fu Qingdong. Huang Fu Qingdong and the others had broken the rules, but he didn't want Shengwu College to break the rules. More importantly, he didn't treat Huang Fu Jinglei as an opponent at all because Huang Fu Jinglei wasn't qualified. Brother-in-law. When Luo Xing saw that Lin Yi had been heavily injured by a sneak attack, she was in a state of shock. She then saw Lin Ye's terrifying attack and was extremely shocked. She only woke up when Lin Yi spoke. She was worried and hurried to Lin Yi. Luo Bingyue and Luo Ling also came to Lin Ye's side. I'm fine. Lin Yi shook his head. He was seriously injured in the secret realm last time. During this period of closed-door training, his injuries had just recovered. He didn't expect to be seriously injured again after coming out of closed-door training, and this injury was worse than the last time. Let me help you. Luo Xing held Lin Ye's arm and helped Lin Yi up. Under the shocked and envious eyes of countless warriors, Lin Yi, Luo Xing Luo Ling and Luo Bingyue followed the two super experts from Shengwu College and left the arena and returned to Shengwu College. Lin Ye's battle had shaken the four great academies and Cloudwater City. So terrifying, too powerful. He crippled Huang Fu Jinglei's arm with one punch. That black-robed expert had the power of all creations. He was a Lin Yi expert, but he couldn't kill Lin Yi in a sneak attack. Instead, he was seriously injured by Lin Yi and was finally killed by the people from Shenwu College. This Lin Yi is too heaven-defying. Sacred artifact. That sacred artifact is so domineering, and he even controls saber intent. He is a true monster, invincible among those of the same level. Didn't Lin Yi not have a martial soul? How can he be so powerful? Could he have a sacred body? Otherwise, how could he cripple Huang Fu Jinglei, who has a peerless emperor body? Also, everyone said that he didn't have a martial soul, but now it seems that he must have a sacred body. Don't say that he doesn't have a martial soul just because you can't see that he has a sacred body. Sacred body? Impossible. According to the records, after the Great Destruction, there has never been a sacred body in the Sky Sea realm. The martial artists watching the battle in the arena discussed animatedly. The news of Lin Yi defeating Huang Fu Jinglei and severely injuring the Wanxiang realm spread throughout Cloud Water City as if it had grown wings. Gradually, almost everyone in Cloud Water City knew about Lin Yi. Moreover, many people even suspected that Lin Yi had a sacred body. However, the main character of countless people's discussions had already been brought back to Shenwu College by the super experts of Shenwu College. With the super experts of Shenwu College protecting him, naturally, no one dared to make a move. Wasn't this nonsense? To be able to defeat Huang Fu Jinglei and severely injure the Wanxiang realm, such a person was definitely not weaker than Huang Fu Jinglei. In fact, Lin Ye's talent surpassed all the geniuses of Shenwu College. Everyone had seen with their own eyes that Lin Ye's talent and strength had turned all the geniuses with emperor bodies into joke. Return to your residences. I'll bring Lin Yi to the sacred martial palace. After returning to Shenwu College, Han Lin glanced at Luo Bingyue and the other two girls and said. After saying that, he nodded at the other two super experts and then grabbed Lin Yi and ran in the direction of the sacred martial palace. Luo Xing'er, Luo Ling'er, and Luo Bingyue were worried about Lin Yi, but now that they had returned to Shenwu College, Lin Yi was considered safe. Moreover, Shenwu College had discovered Lin Ye's talent and strength and would definitely nurture Lin Yi vigorously. They would not let Lin Ye's injuries affect his future cultivation. What a joke! With the talent that Lin Yi had displayed, if Shenwu College didn't pay attention to it, the other three colleges would definitely snatch him away. Even the 36 kingdoms of the Sky Sea realm would want to snatch Lin Yi away. If such a genius wasn't nurtured properly, Shenwu College wouldn't be worthy of being called one of the 4 great colleges. For Shenwu College, Lin Ye's performance made them feel that they had hit the jackpot. They didn't expect that such a heaven-defying genius would remain in Shenwu College. Of course, Shenwu College's students had also reported what had happened in the mystic realm to Shenwu College. Naturally, Shenwu College had discovered that Lin Yi was an incredible genius, but they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, so they weren't shocked. Chapter 41. The Sacred Martial Palace, Shenwu College's sacred place. Those who could come here were all super powerhouses who had reached the manifestation realm. Each of them was a top figure in Shenwu College and influenced the direction of Shenwu College. Apart from super powerhouses, only the true disciples were left. Lin Yi was led by Han Lin and soon arrived at the sacred martial palace. When he arrived, the first thing he felt was the rich spiritual qi and the mystical and powerful dragon qi. He had seen the golden divine dragon's phantom and cultivated the 9 transformations of the divine dragon, so he had an innate sensitivity to dragon qi. He was even more sensitive to dragon qi than spiritual qi. The sacred martial palace was located at the peak of Shenwu College's sacred martial peak. It was tall and majestic and emitted a mysterious aura that gave people a feeling of supremacy. The faintly discernible aura made Lin Yi not dare to breathe loudly. This is the sacred martial palace. Only the 10 great elders and the 3 vice palace lords of Xingu College can come here, Han Lin said to Lin Yi. On the way, the two didn't speak, but Han Li sent out several messages. Lin Yi didn't know who Han Li was sending the messages to, but it was none of his business. Senior Han is also one of the 10 great elders, right? The 3 vice palace lords? What about the palace lord? Lin Yi couldn't help but be curious. The 10 great elders were manifestation realm powerhouses, so the 3 vice palace lords should also be manifestation realm powerhouses. However, Han Lin didn't mention the palace lord, which made Lin Yi curious. Xingu College currently only has 3 vice palace lords, because the current palace lord has left Xingu College for 50 years. Han Lin nodded and admitted that he was one of the 10 great elders. He then muttered to himself for a moment before telling Lin Yi about the palace lord. The reason why Xingu College only had 3 vice palace lords and no palace lord was because the current palace lord had left, or rather, the palace lord had disappeared. No one in Xingu College knew where the palace lord went or what happened. Palace Master has left Xingu College. Lin Yi couldn't help but be shocked. From Han Lin's tone, he could tell that something must have happened to the current palace master. Go in. The elders and the vice palace master have something to ask you. Han Lin didn't mind Lin Yi's surprise. The two arrived in front of the Martial Saint Palace. The palace doors were already open, and Han Lin led Lin Yi into the palace. As soon as Lin Yi stepped into the palace, a terrifying pressure enveloped him. This pressure was the might of the Martial Saint Palace. The injured Lin Yi almost knelt down in front of this pressure. Fortunately, his physique was strong and he possessed a strong divine sense. As someone who cultivated the Divine Dragon 9 transformations, he had a certain degree of immunity to pressure, which was why he was not crushed to the ground. Entering the palace, Lin Yi saw 4 middle-aged experts sitting on both sides of the palace. On the main seat of the palace was a gray-robed old man. Elder Han, what's going on? The old man sitting on the main seat glanced at Lin Yi with a puzzled expression and asked Han Lin. The other elders also looked at Lin Yi and Han Lin. Palace Master Mo elders. Huangfu Jinglei just challenged a Xingu College disciple and was severely injured by Lin Yi. That old man Huangfu Qingdong wanted to eliminate Lin Yi, but we stopped him. Who knew that Huangfu Qingdong didn't come to Cloudwater City alone? There was also a manifestation realm expert who ambushed Lin Yi. Han Lin nodded respectfully at the old man sitting on the main seat, his face full of respect. Then, he briefly recounted what had happened in the arena today. The elders of the Sacred Martial Palace, including Vice Palace Master Mo, were all astonished. Their eyes all looked at Lin Yi, as if they wanted to see through Lin Yi. Mo Xuesong was one of the 3 Vice Palace Masters of Xingu College. When the Palace Master wasn't present, they all called the 3 Palace Masters without adding the word Vice. They already knew a little about what happened to Lin Yi in the secret realm, Theta Scarabii. But they didn't expect Lin Yi to be so powerful that he could cripple Huangfu Jinglei, who had a peerless emperor physique. Even a sneak attack from a manifestation realm expert couldn't kill him. In the end, he even seriously injured that manifestation realm expert. They couldn't help but be shocked. They knew how terrifying a manifestation realm expert was. It wasn't something a spirit maneuvering realm expert could imagine. Yet, Lin Yi was able to withstand a manifestation realm expert's attack and not die. He even seriously injured that manifestation realm expert. It was truly unimaginable. Let Lin Yi go to the dragon blood pool. After being shocked, Palace Master Mo spoke and let Lin Yi go to the dragon blood pool. He looked at the other elders. Although he was a vice palace master, his status was equivalent to the palace master in the absence of a palace master. However, there were a few decisions in Xingu College that couldn't be made by one person alone. It required the agreement of several elders and the other vice-palace masters. The dragon blood pool was such an existence that one person couldn't make the decision for. Agreed. 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 Aloud. The 4 elders didn't hesitate at all and agreed with Palace Master Mo's suggestion. They were all clear about Lin Ye's talent. If Xingu College missed such a genius, it would really be Xingu College's fault. It would be their fault that other colleges might poach him. Moreover, Lin Yi defeated Huangfu Jinglei and was seriously injured by a manifestation realm expert's sneak attack. Now that he was seriously injured, regardless of his talent or contribution, he was qualified to go to the Dragon Blood Pool. I'll take him to the Dragon Blood Pool. Third Elder Yin Tian and the others should be back soon, Han Lin said. The other 4 elders and Palace Master Mo cast a mysterious spell at the same time. Rays of light appeared in the sacred martial palace. The rays of light merged together and a light vortex appeared in the center of the palace. The light vortex was full of mysterious runes. An enormous amount of dragon chi was emitted from the light vortex. Boom! Han Lin stretched out his hand and moved the air. Suddenly, a mysterious power condensed. Among the power, there were some stars flickering. It looked dazzling and mysterious. When Lin Yi saw this power and appearance, he already knew that this should be the Manifestation Realm expert's Manifestation Realm power. At this time, Han Lin wrapped Lin Yi with the Manifestation Realm power and brought Lin Yi toward the light vortex. In an instant, the two disappeared into the light vortex. With the protection of the Manifestation Realm power, the mysterious power of the light vortex couldn't hurt Lin Yi. Soon, the two passed through the light vortex and appeared in a large hall. Rather than a large hall, it was more like an underground secret room. This large hall was 1,000 meters long and wide. The hall was surrounded by stone walls. After Lin Yi appeared, he was immediately attracted by a giant dragon skeleton in the hall. The giant dragon skeleton emitted a domineering and mysterious dragon chi. Not far from the giant dragon skeleton was a blood pool. The blood pool emitted pure dragon chi and dragon power. This is the dragon blood pool. This giant dragon's corpse has existed for who knows how many tens of thousands of years. The blood in the blood pool is the giant dragon's blood. Don't worry, this dragon blood has been diluted. It is very beneficial for martial artists below the manifestation realm. It is useless for martial artists above the manifestation realm. You have one day, don't miss this opportunity. Han Lin pointed at the blood pool that was 10 meters long and wide. This place was like a forbidden area in Xingu College. Those who could cultivate here were the top geniuses of Xingu College or monstrous geniuses who had made great contributions to Xingu College. The others weren't qualified to cultivate here. Elder Han, is this the dragon vein of Xingu College? Lin Yi looked at the blood pool and was shocked in his heart. A pool of dragon blood. Using dragon blood to cultivate, one's cultivation would rise in a straight line. Moreover, it was extremely beneficial to a martial artist's physique. It was even more beneficial to Lin Ye's Divine Dragon 9 transformations. That's right. After Han Lin answered, he left the hall. Only Lin Yi was left in the hall. He had one day to cultivate here, so he couldn't waste any time. Without any hesitation, his figure flashed and entered the dragon blood pool. Immediately, a huge amount of dragon chi and dragon power surged and drilled into Lin Ye's pores. Oh. He didn't expect the dragon blood in the dragon blood pool to be so pure. After entering, the terrifying pain felt as if it was going to tear him apart. He couldn't help but cry out. However, he gritted his teeth and endured it. After all, he cultivated the Divine Dragon 9 transformations. As long as he paid attention, the pain was within his tolerance range. His injuries quickly recovered. In an hour, more than half of his injuries had recovered. 6 hours later, Lin Ye's injuries were completely healed. After recovering from his injuries, Lin Yi mobilized the Divine Dragon 9 transformations to cultivate and began to cultivate the Divine Dragon 9 transformations. As for his martial arts cultivation, with the automatic circulation of the Luo water true scripture, his cultivation was also rapidly increasing. In the 18th hour, Lin Ye's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of the spirit-moving realm. In the 12th hour, which was also the last 2 hours of the day, Lin Ye's Divine Dragon 9 transformations broke through as he wished and reached the second transformation of the Divine Dragon 9 transformations, Flood Dragon transformation. The power of the Flood Dragon was countless times stronger than the power of the Earth Dragon. Especially his physique, which had a defense like that of a Flood Dragon. Although his current physique couldn't compare to a Heaven Stage monster beast's physique, it wasn't far off. Unknowingly, he had already absorbed a tenth of the dragon blood in the pool. Seeing this, Lin Yi couldn't help but be surprised. Hiss, 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 hissed in the hall, a hissing sound could be heard. A light vortex appeared not far away from the blood pool. Lin Yi knew that his time was up. He had to leave this place now and return to the sacred martial palace through this light vortex. His figure flashed as his true essence shook off the dragon blood on his body. After casually entering the light vortex, Lin Yi left the hall through the teleportation of the light vortex. When he reappeared, he had already returned to the sacred martial palace. In the sacred martial palace, in addition to Palace Master Mo, the 4 elders from the beginning and Han Lin, there were now 4 more elders. Lin Yi recognized one of them. It was Yin Tian, who had stopped Huang Fu Qingdong in the arena. "You've recovered from your injuries. Not bad, not bad." When Lin Yi appeared, Palace Master Mo, who was sitting in the main seat, nodded in satisfaction and said. The other elders all looked at Lin Yi. Chapter 42. Thank you, Palace Master Mo and all the elders. Lin Yi bowed to Palace Master Mo and the elders present and said. No matter what, he was still a student of Paladin Academy. Entering the Dragon Blood Pool to recuperate and cultivate was also unanimously approved by Palace Master Mo and the other elders. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Blood Pool. Without the Dragon Blood Pool, his 9 transformations of the Divine Dragon wouldn't have reached the second transformation so easily. You are a student of Xingu College. With your talent, you are qualified to enter the Dragon Blood Pool. Being able to defeat Huang Fu Jinglei with ease has indeed surprised us. You've done well. You must have obtained a lot of opportunities in the secret realm. Now, go to the Saint Martial Palace and pay your respects to the previous palace lords of the Academy. Palace Master Mo waved his hand with a smile on his face. Xingu College was indeed lucky to have such a monster in Xingu College. If it wasn't for the new secret realm, Xingu College wouldn't have known that there was such a monster in Xingu College. At that time, everyone knew that Lin Yi was an incredible genius. Now that Lin Yi had defeated Huang Fu Jinglei, survived the sneak attack of a manifestation realm cultivator, and even seriously injured him, it was even more unexpected. Such a monster was too heaven-defying. He was definitely not comparable to a genius with an emperor physique. The elders and Palace Master Mo already suspected that Lin Yi was a saint physique. Disciple obeys. Lin Yi nodded and addressed them as disciple. What he didn't expect was that Palace Master Mo and the elders would personally follow Lin Yi to the Martial Saint Palace. Naturally, he didn't know the reason why Palace Master Mo and the elders went to the Martial Saint Palace. It was because the Martial Saint Palace had something to investigate Lin Ye's identity. If Lin Yi was a spy sent by other sects, Lin Ye's true identity would be revealed. This was also Xingu College's strict attitude towards the identity of a super genius. It was to prevent them from helping enemy sects cultivate a super expert. Martial Saint Palace. It was actually right behind the sacred Martial Palace. In other words, the Martial Saint Palace was an ancestral hall where the memorial tablets of the past palace masters and elders of Shengwu College were enshrined. It was related to the fate and future of Shengwu College. Soon, Lin Yi and the others arrived at the Martial Saint Hall. Upon seeing the Martial Saint Palace, Lin Yi was shocked. It was a tall statue that exuded an aura of disdain for the world. The entire statue was lifelike. In front of the statue, it gave people a feeling that they could not hide. It was as if the statue could see through everything. Lin Yi was shaken. He felt that he wasn't facing a statue, but a god that could destroy the heavens and earth. This is the first palace master of Shengwu College. Later generations called him the Holy Martial Emperor. When Palace Head Mo and the rest saw that Lin Yi didn't have any reaction to the statue, they were elated. This meant that Lin Yi wasn't a spy. At the very least, Lin Yi wasn't a disciple of another sect. Of course, in fact, Shengwu College had already investigated Lin Yi's identity. The only thing they didn't find out was where Lin Yi came from. They only found out that Lin Yi came from the 100,000 Mountains and knew nothing else. Junior disciple Lin Yi pays his respects to the Holy Martial Emperor. Lin Yi bowed respectfully to the statue. In his heart, he was extremely respectful. This was the first palace master of Shengwu College, known as the Holy Martial Emperor. Just this title alone wasn't something that a peerless powerhouse could have. One could imagine how powerful the Holy Martial Emperor was at that time. He was in awe of powerhouses. This was a cycle. If he didn't respect the powerhouses, he wouldn't be respected by others in the future. Except for the first palace master. Shengwu College has gone through 1,380 generations of palace masters. Every palace master has made great contributions to Shengwu College. This palace master left Shengwu College 50 years ago and hasn't appeared since. Some time ago, the palace master's life card was destroyed. Palace Head Mo pointed to the memorial tablets in the ancestral hall. In every era, there would be a palace master, a deputy palace master, and 10 elders. Over the years, there had been tens of thousands of memorial tablets in the ancestral hall. In the ancestral hall, only the palace master had an image. No one else was qualified to leave an image. Lin Yi looked at the memorial tablet of the current palace master. When he saw the image on the memorial tablet, he was completely stunned. Sir. Seeing the image on the memorial tablet, Lin Yi was stunned. This was because he found that the image was his sir. His sir, who had lived with him for 15 years, took care of him since he was young, taught him how to be a good person, and was also his only family. However, he didn't expect that his sir was the palace master of Shengwu College. Moreover, his sir had passed away. Only a palace master who had passed away would leave a memorial tablet in the ancestral hall. You know the palace master? Palace Head Mo and a few elders couldn't help but be surprised when they saw Lin Yi's appearance. Yes. He is my sir. He taught me for 15 years. Palace Head Mo, when did sir pass away? Lin Yi was sure that the image on the memorial tablet was his sir. After living with him for 15 years, he naturally wouldn't be mistaken. About half a month before the college recruited disciples. Although the palace master has disappeared for 50 years, his life card has always been intact, which proves that he is still alive. However, some time ago, his life card was discovered to be destroyed. The destruction of his life card means that the palace master has passed away and is no longer in this world. Palace Head Mo said. He looked at Lin Yi and was extremely surprised. From Lin Yi's eyes and tone, he knew that Lin Yi wasn't lying, and there was no need for him to lie. He didn't expect that this heaven-defying monster was the disciple of the palace master. No wonder the palace master had disappeared for 50 years and passed away, but a heaven-defying monster appeared. How is this possible? When I left, Sir was still fine. Calculating the time I left was the time when Sir passed away. Tears rolled down Lin Ye's cheeks. A man doesn't cry easily unless he is heartbroken. His only family member who lived with him disappeared just like that. He wasn't a heartless person, so he was naturally sad. In his heart, Sir was like a father and a brother. Where did you and the palace master live? Palace head Mo was also a little puzzled. He didn't know what the palace master had been doing for the past 50 years. Since Lin Yi appeared in the Yunshui kingdom, the palace master should not be far from Xingu College. However, why didn't the palace master return to Xingu College? Moreover, Lin Yi came out of the 100,000 Mountains. It was also possible that the palace master had been in the 100,000 Mountains. Sir and I have been living in the 100,000 Mountains. We haven't left for 15 years. This time, it was Sir who asked me to leave. Lin Yi explained briefly. There was no need for him to hide it. The 100,000 Mountains were so terrifying that even if someone wanted to go in, it was impossible. He wasn't worried that someone would find the place where he and Sir lived. It's really the 100,000 Mountains. Go to the place where the palace master meditates. See if there are any clues. When Palace Head Mo heard Lin Yi mention the 100,000 Mountains, he couldn't help but come to a realization. Because the palace master had mentioned the 100,000 Mountains a long time ago. Not long after that, the palace master disappeared, but they couldn't enter the deepest part of the 100,000 Mountains to find the palace master. Not to mention them, even with the palace master's cultivation, he might not be able to enter the deepest part of the 100,000 Mountains. The other elders had also confirmed that Lin Yi was the disciple of the palace master. The cultivation places of the previous palace masters were all in the palace master's hall. Lin Yi, the elders, and palace master Mo came to the palace master's hall. However, other than Lin Yi, the others stayed outside the palace master's hall because they were not qualified to enter. Only the palace master and the personal disciples of the palace master were qualified to enter. The palace master's hall was empty. Although no one had lived here for decades, this place was still spotless. Lin Yi stepped into the palace master's hall and immediately sensed a familiar aura. In the palace, a shadow appeared. Seeing this shadow, Lin Yi was extremely excited, but then he was sad. "Sir!" Lin Yi shouted. This was Sir's shadow. It was left behind by Sir. However, Sir had already died and left behind this shadow. "You came here. It means that I have disappeared. This is the only thing I left for you. I didn't contribute much to Xingu College, and have let Xingu College down. In the future, help Xingu College and treat the people of the Sky Sea realm well." The shadow was calm and there was no emotion in his tone. As his voice fell, the shadow gradually dissipated. At the same time, a sword-like light appeared out of thin air. The light ignored everything and entered between Lin Ye's eyebrows and finally entered his mind. At this moment, Lin Yi was completely stunned. Everything in the outside world seemed to be isolated. The god of the sword domain, the world of nothingness. Where the sword Tao is, it is invincible. If the 12 swords are at the pinnacle. If the sword is merciless, all things will be destroyed. If the sword is merciless, all things will be revived. In Lin Ye's mind, a fine sword light was spinning. Streams of information were emitted from the sword light. Although it was called a sword light, it was actually a fine sword, a mini-sword. However, it gave people an obscure and profound feeling. It could destroy everything. It gave people a feeling of invincibility and indestructibility. He was in the palace master's hall. The people outside did not know the situation inside the palace master's hall. However, Palace Master Mo and a few elders heard a faint voice. "This old man has contributed nothing to Xingu College. However, this old man will give you a future. A new era is about to arrive." A few elders and Palace Master Mo were very familiar with this voice. This was because this voice belonged to the current palace master. Although he had died, he had left behind a will. Hearing the palace master's words, the elders and palace master could not help but be stunned. Immediately, they understood the meaning of the palace master's words. A day later, Lin Yi left the palace master's hall. His entire person was filled with a trace of loneliness and sadness. Mr. was no longer here. In the future, he would never see Mr. again because Mr. had died. As for how Mr. died, he did not know. The only thing he knew was that Mr. had long known that he would come to Shengwu College. The elders and palace master Mo outside the palace master's hall were very curious when they saw Lin Yi come out. Chapter 43. Mr. already knew about today's matter. I will finish what Mr. didn't finish. Lin Yi looked at the elders and palace master Mo and said. After that, he left the palace master's hall step by step and walked down Shengwu College. The elders and palace master Mo saw Lin Yi's appearance and didn't say anything. They let Lin Yi leave alone. Lin Yi left the palace master's hall and returned to the Xian Ice Palace. After returning to the Xian Ice Palace, he announced to the outside world that he would be cultivating in seclusion. Luo Xing'er, Luo Ling'er, and Luo Bingyue saw that Lin Yi's injuries had recovered. Although they were relieved, seeing Lin Yi's lonely appearance made them even more worried. They didn't know what difficulties Lin Yi encountered. Soon, Shengwu College announced a matter. This matter spread throughout Shengwu College and immediately shocked countless martial artists of Shengwu College. Although they were shocked, no one was surprised. Lin Yi, from today onward, he is the young palace master of Shengwu College. The news spread very quickly. Not only did the martial artists of Shengwu College know, but also the martial artists of the 4 major colleges and the entire Yunshui city knew. They all understood that Lin Yi's status was unparalleled at this moment. The young palace master was on an equal footing with the 3 vice palace masters. As long as Lin Yi's cultivation strength reached a certain level, he could be the palace master of Shengwu College. He does have the qualifications: monstrous talent and terrifying strength. His talent should be beyond the emperor body. As for whether it is a saint body or not, no one knows. Lin Yi is now at the peak of the 8th level of the spirit realm. It seems that it won't be long before he can reach the heaven realm. As long as he crosses the heaven realm, his strength will reach a new high. I really didn't expect that Lin Yi, who was said to have no martial spirit, would be so heaven-defying. The young palace master of Shengwu College is amazing. The great Cloud Water City was filled with countless discussions. Lin Yi's name had become the topic of conversation for countless martial artists in Cloud Water City. He had also become the goal of countless proud sons of heaven, even if they didn't have the slightest bit of hope. The happiest family was none other than the Luo family, one of the top 10 families. Because of the relationship between Lin Yi and Luo Bingyue, the Luo family's position was vaguely at the top of the top 10 families. They still didn't know that Lin Yi and Luo Bingyue had already broken off their engagement. The main character of countless discussions had long stopped paying attention to the outside world. How did Sir die? Could it be a demonic beast from the 100,000 Great Mountains? That's impossible. We've lived in the 100,000 mountains for more than 10 years, and we haven't encountered any powerful demonic beast. As long as Mr. doesn't leave the mountain peak, there won't be any danger. Lin Yi muttered to himself. Until now, he still didn't believe that Master had died. What puzzled him was that the time of Mr.'s death was the day he left. When I can enter the peak of the 100,000 Great Mountains, then I'll go back and investigate. Cultivation, strength. After a long time, Lin Yi's state of mind finally calmed down. He understood that even if he suspected that Mr. had died, he didn't have the strength to return to the 100,000 Great Mountains, let alone the ability to return to the peak at the center of the 100,000 Great Mountains. Now, what he needed the most was strength. At the same time, he had to figure out the last thing that Mr. had left him. That was the sword light in his mind. In fact, he didn't know if it was a sword light, a sword, or a sword technique. It was because it was too profound and obscure, and it wasn't something he could come into contact with now. Therefore, he had to become stronger. After becoming stronger, he would have a chance to figure out the sword light in his mind. It was also the only thing that Mr. had left for him. With a thought, the ninefold space opened. He disappeared into the ninefold space. The time ratio was 8:1. 8 days of cultivation in the ninefold space was only 1 day in the outside world. With such a heaven-defying treasure, he could have more time to cultivate powerful martial techniques and cultivation method. Time passed day by day. A year passed. A year in the ninefold space was only more than a month in the outside world. Lin Ye's cultivation successfully reached the Heaven Star realm, the second layer of the tenfold destruction saber. What made him happy was the wings of space. After he opened the third seal of the ninefold space, he got the talent of the wings of space. However, at that time, he didn't have the time or strength to comprehend it. Now, he had reached the Heaven Star realm and mastered the power of Heaven Star. He also comprehended and cultivated the wings of space. The wings of space was extremely fast. More importantly, with the wings of space, he could fly in the air. Ordinary martial artists couldn't fly unless they reached the legendary Voiding Realm. Only Voiding Realm experts could fly in the air. Other martial artists couldn't fly. While he was cultivating in seclusion, the outside world had undergone earth-shattering changes. 3 million troops of the Moon Kingdom gathered at the border of the Yunshui Kingdom and began to attack the Yunshui Kingdom. Moreover, countless experts of the Moon Kingdom were rushing to Yunshui City. These experts and the army were enough to overturn the Yunshui Kingdom. The people of the Yunshui Kingdom naturally understood the purpose of the Moon Kingdom. They were eager to kill Lin Yi and prevent him from growing. If Lin Yi was allowed to grow, the Moon Kingdom would definitely be suppressed by Lin Yi. This was something that the Moon Kingdom didn't want to see. After all, the Moon Kingdom wanted to annex the Yunshui Kingdom and had been preparing for many years. After annexing the Yunshui Kingdom, they would become stronger. They would then annex other kingdoms and gradually unify the Sky Sea realm and become the ruler of the Sky Sea realm. Now, a super genius had appeared in the Yunshui Kingdom and could become an obstacle to the great cause of the Moon Kingdom. The Moon Kingdom is hundreds of thousands of miles away from the Yunshui Kingdom. Even if their army is unstoppable, it will still take them a few months. A manifestation realm expert of the Yunshui Kingdom's royal family said. In the royal palace, King Zhang Mingyang's face was solemn. The other ministers were also incredibly worried. If the Cloudwater Kingdom was destroyed, their wealth and status would be destroyed as well. Moreover, their families would also be destroyed. The Moon Kingdom's army is nothing to be afraid of. Their current target is Lin Yi from Xingu College. It's a pity. If Lin Yi had kept a low profile for a few decades and reached the manifestation realm, the Moon Kingdom wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Our Yunshui Kingdom would also be safe. Feng Wuyu, the head of one of the 10 great families, shook his head. If the Moon Kingdom's army came, the Feng family's hundreds of years of foundation would be destroyed. Countless disciples of the Feng family would also disappear in this war. The Moon Kingdom attacking the Yunshui Kingdom is something that will happen sooner or later. It's just a little earlier. Yunshui City mobilized its army to defend against the Moon Kingdom's army. As for the experts of the Moon Kingdom, they won't go all out. The people of the 4 colleges won't just stand by and watch. Wang Tianzi, the head of the Wang family, who was also one of the 10 great families, said. Everyone knew that without the lips, the teeth would feel cold. Without the Yunshui Kingdom, the Wang family would naturally be doomed. Naturally, the Wang family wouldn't betray the Yunshui Kingdom. This was the bottom line of the Wang family. More importantly, this was the Wang family's hometown. Your Majesty, let's take a look at the 4 colleges first. The Luo family won't just stand by and watch. Although Luo Feiyang wasn't the head of the Luo family, he represented the Luo family in the royal family. He naturally knew the relationship between the Luo family and Lin Yi. Lin Yi was extremely talented. If he grew up, he would definitely be a huge backer for the Luo family. Give the order. Gather the army and guard Yunshui City. Send the experts back. Leave the army and experts of the Moon Kingdom in Yunshui City. Make sure they don't return. The Yunshui Kingdom isn't to be trifled with. King Zhang Mingyang pondered for a while and gave the order. As the king of a country, he naturally had to protect his people. Although the Yunshui Kingdom wasn't as powerful as the Moon Kingdom didn't dare to send all of its troops and experts. If a portion of the troops and experts were sent to Yunshui City, the Yunshui Kingdom would naturally be able to make sure that the troops and experts of the Moon Kingdom wouldn't return. Yes, Your Majesty. Yes, Your Majesty. The representatives of the 10 great families and the ministers of the various kingdoms all saluted and obeyed. This Lin Yi really knows how to cause trouble. He provoked the troops and experts of the Moon Kingdom and put the Yunshui Kingdom in deep trouble. In the Green Rock College, an elder frowned. The 4 colleges were already competing with each other. Now, a super genius had appeared in Shengwu College. If this genius was allowed to grow, the 4 colleges would be suppressed by Shengwu College. What was worse was that Lin Ye's existence had provoked the troops and experts of the Moon Kingdom. Shut up. Although the 4 colleges are competing with each other, they are all people of the Yunshui Kingdom. If Lin Yi is a genius of the Green Rock College and provoked the Moon Kingdom, what would you say? Even without Lin Yi, the Yunshui Kingdom would still be attacked by the Moon Kingdom. The palace master of the Green Rock College couldn't help but feel dissatisfied when he heard the complaints of his elders. Sigh, the 4 colleges can only stand on the same front to resist the Moon Kingdom. The palace master of the Sky Sword College muttered to himself. In the Sword Palace, the other elders were discussing in low voices. Young palace master of Shengwu College is going to be busy this time. As long as he doesn't leave Shengwu College, no one can do anything to him. Jian Wuchen, the palace master of the Sky Sword College, looked in the direction of Shengwu College and said indifferently. Only he knew the trump card of Shengwu College. It wasn't something that ordinary forces could shake. Even the Moon Kingdom might not be able to completely uproot Shengwu College. As long as Lin Yi didn't leave Shengwu College, the people of the Moon Kingdom wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi, unless the old monster of the Moon Kingdom's royal family came. However, people like that wouldn't leave the Moon Kingdom under normal circumstances. In the Yunshui Kingdom, the entire Yunshui city was in a state of panic. They all knew that the Moon Kingdom was attacking the Yunshui Kingdom. Although they were both kingdoms, the gap between them was too big. Chapter 44. Palace Master Mo, I will be leaving Shengwu College for a period of time. Shengwu College, Palace Master Mo's residence. Lin Yi went to Palace Master Mo's residence and greeted Mo Xuesong. If it was in the past, he wouldn't need to inform anyone when he left Shengwu College for training. Although he could do this now, he wouldn't be so irresponsible. After all, he was the young palace master of Shengwu College and a super genius of Shengwu College. This concerned the future of Shengwu College. He naturally had to inform others that he was leaving Shengwu College. After he came out of seclusion, he also heard about the Moon Kingdom and Yunshui Kingdom. He knew that the Moon Kingdom attacked Yunshui Kingdom in advance because of Lin Yi. As long as he wasn't in Cloud Water City, the Moon Kingdom's attack on Yunshui Kingdom would slow down. Leave the college? Don't you know the situation outside? As long as you don't leave the college, even the Moon Kingdom can't do anything to you. However, once you leave the college, you will be hunted down by the super experts of the Moon Kingdom. Emo Shuesong was shocked when he heard Lin Ye's words. If it were any other genius student, he wouldn't care. However, Lin Yi was different. Lin Yi was the young palace master of Xingu College and a super genius of Xingu College. He was the future of Xingu College. If Lin Yi left Xingu College and met with danger, it would be troublesome. I know. I can't hide in the college. It won't be that easy for them to eliminate me. Lin Yi smiled. With his Heaven Star Border Stage 2 cultivation, he wouldn't be in danger as long as he didn't meet a manifestation realm expert. Even if he couldn't win, he could escape. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't leave Xingu College to die. I won't care about your path. Remember, as long as you're alive, there's hope. Being alive is the greatest victory. Emo Shuesong looked at Lin Yi and said. Although he was facing a Heaven Star Border kid, this kid gave him an indifferent feeling. Even facing the Moon Kingdom, he didn't feel any pressure. Thank you, Palace Master. After speaking, Lin Yi turned and left. He directly left Paladin Academy and slowly walked out of Cloudwater City. The moment Xingu Palace Master left Xingu, the experts of the Moon Kingdom's Xingu. Xingu. Of course, there were countless scouts Xingu's spies. Xingu, of course, Xingu's spies Xingu's time. Everyone knew about this, but no one said it out loud. He actually dared to leave Cloudwater City. There was a mansion in Xingu of Xingu. In the mansion, a gray-robed old man received the news from below. He couldn't help but be surprised. As the head of the Moon Kingdom spies in Xingu, his cultivation was very high. He didn't expect that the super monster Lin Yi not only didn't hide in Xingu College, but also left Xingu. Head, I saw it with my own eyes. The spy replied respectfully. He saw Lin Yi leave Xingu with his own eyes. After that, he sent people to watch the city gate and followed Lin Yi. How many experts are there? The gray-robed old man looked at the spy and asked. Head. There are no experts following him. He's alone. The scout swallowed his saliva and answered the gray-robed elder. In fact, he didn't believe that Lin Yi didn't bring any experts with him. Even if Lin Yi was arrogant, the super experts of Xingu College wouldn't agree. However, he saw with his own eyes that Lin Yi was alone and didn't have any experts with him. Alone? Send someone to follow them. If there's a chance, kill him outside Cloudwater City. I'll send people to pick you up. Pay attention to the people from Xingu College. What is his motive for leaving Cloudwater City? The gray-robed elder was extremely shocked. He did not know why Lin Yi had left Cloudwater City. However, regardless of the motives of Lin Yi and Xingu College, the Moon Kingdom had to kill Lin Yi. To them, Lin Yi's departure from Cloudwater City was their best chance. If Lin Yi stayed in Cloudwater City, it would be difficult to kill Lin Yi. This subordinate will do it right away. The scout nodded. He wasn't confident that he could kill Lin Yi. However, if Lin Yi wasn't in Cloudwater City, he could use many methods to deal with Lin Yi. Not to mention, he wasn't the only one who could kill Lin Yi. At this speed, it will take me a month to reach Tianlong Kingdom. Lin Yi left Cloudwater Grand City and kept running towards the distance. At this moment, he was already tens of thousands of miles away from Cloudwater City. The route he chose was to avoid powerful beasts as much as possible. Otherwise, with his cultivation, he wouldn't be able to stop powerful beasts. Of course, others didn't know his motive, but he had a target. His target was Tianlong Kingdom, Yunshui Kingdom's neighbor, which was also the Moon Kingdom's neighbor. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. There was the sound of something breaking through the air. As a martial artist, he was very familiar with this kind of sound. It was the sound of strong martial artists tearing through the air, and there were quite a few of them. Lin Yi did not turn around. He naturally knew that these strong martial artists were chasing after him. He left Cloud Water City and didn't use the college's teleportation array. His purpose was to let the people of the Moon Kingdom know his whereabouts. He wanted to draw the attention of the Moon Kingdom's powerhouses away from Cloud Water City. He wouldn't believe that no one was chasing after him. He was looking for an opportunity for the Moon Kingdom's powerhouses. They were fast. In less than 10 seconds, they surrounded Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't need to use his eyes to know that there were 7 powerhouses in Theta Scarabii. 7 Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses. Each of them was at the 3rd or 4th stage of Heaven Star Border. Lin Yi couldn't help but be surprised to be able to mobilize so many Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses in such a short time. After all, this was the Yunshui Kingdom, not the Moon Kingdom. 7 Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses dealing with him at the same time. They really thought highly of him. Lin Yi, I didn't think that you would dare to leave Cloud Water City. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death. The leader of the group, a Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouse, said coldly. His entire body emitted a strong murderous aura. His Heaven Star Border Realm power was already brewing, ready to explode with a terrifying attack at any time. The other 6 Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses surrounded Lin Yi. Their powerful Heaven Star Border Realm power distorted the space around them. Ignorant, Lin Yi said indifferently. From the beginning to the end, his expression was incomparably calm. He seemed to be at ease, as if he didn't feel any pressure at all. As he spoke, a terrifying sword intent was released. Using his fingers as a sword, streaks of sword chi shot out. Following the appearance of the sword chi, the space around them trembled. The cultivation of a Heaven Star Border Realm Stage 2 was displayed at this moment. The cultivation of a Heaven Star Border Realm Stage 2 was comparable to a Heaven Star Border Realm Stage 5. This was the benefit he got from the electric arc bombardment in the new secret realm. It made his physique stronger, and his dantian was countless times stronger than others. Heaven Star Border Realm. The leader of the Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses saw the Heaven Star Border Realm power and sword chi displayed by Lin Yi and couldn't help but be shocked. They didn't get the news that Lin Yi had reached the Heaven Star Border Realm. They thought that Lin Yi was just in the spirit-moving realm. Otherwise, if they knew that Lin Yi had reached the Heaven Star Border Realm, they wouldn't have chased after Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi was basically invincible in the same realm. Unfortunately, he knew it too late. Streaks of sword chi, with sharp sword intent, cut through the necks of several people. 7 Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses, their necks were all slashed by the sword chi, leaving a trace of blood. Poochie! Poochie! The sword chi was still moving, and the wind was raging. The flowers and trees within 100 meters were in a mess. 7 Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses were lying on the ground. Their eyes were full of horror and unwillingness. Chasing after Lin Yi seemed to have an absolute advantage. However, the result was that they were all annihilated. From beginning to end, they didn't touch Lin Yi at all. Ignorant. Lin Yi glanced at the 7 fallen Heaven Star Border Realm powerhouses and said faintly. After reaching the Heaven Star Border Realm, this was the first time he made a move. It was the same thunderclap sword technique, but at this moment it was countless times stronger than the last time he used it. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. This was the difference between the cultivation realm. The higher the cultivation, the more powerful the power displayed. No wonder people always say that turning something rotten into something magical. It turned out to be this truth. I didn't expect you to reach the Heaven Star Border Realm's 2nd level. The more you are like this, the faster you will die. In the distance, a cold voice sounded. Accompanying the voice was a terrifying killing intent. Just the killing intent could make the average powerhouse tremble. The voice fell, a figure flashed quickly. The distance of 1,000 meters was reached in just a few seconds. The figure stopped 100 meters away from Lin Yi and stared coldly at Lin Yi. He also knew about Lin Ye's information. 2 months ago, Lin Yi was just a martial artist at the peak of the spirit realm 8th level. He didn't expect that in just 2 months, Lin Yi reached the Heaven Star Border Realm 2nd level. This cultivation speed was too heaven-defying. If he was given a few more months or years to reach the manifestation realm, no one would be able to kill him. Naturally, he didn't know that Lin Yi didn't cultivate for 2 months, but more than a year. Because the time he spent in the ninefold space was 8 times longer than outside. The ratio of 8, one could only be said to be heaven-defying. Can you kill me? Lin Yi turned and looked at the powerhouse who was chasing after him and said. His eyes glanced at the powerhouse. He was dressed in a black robe, leaving only a pair of eyes outside. The rest of his body was covered by the black robe. It was impossible to see his identity. Under the scan of his divine sense, he could already see the cultivation realm of the black-robed powerhouse, the peak of the Heaven Star Border Realm 6th level. Seeing the black-robed powerhouse, he thought of the black-robed powerhouse who attacked him last time. However, that black-robed powerhouse was in the manifestation realm, and this black-robed powerhouse was only in the Heaven Star Border Realm. The difference in strength between the two was like heaven and earth. Enough to kill you, the black-robed powerhouse replied coldly. As he spoke, a sickle appeared in his hand. With his voice and appearance, he looked like a death god. Chapter 45. Your cultivation is slightly higher than theirs. But you're just as ignorant. That's all. When Lin Yi saw the blade light approaching, he stretched out his hand and a rank 9 spirit weapon appeared in his hand. He waved his hand and several sword lights flew towards the blade light. With the power of a level 9 spiritual weapon and the sword intent, the sword rays were invincible. Kacha, the sword rays and saber rays clashed together, producing a loud kacha sound. The space was distorted. Chi shishi chi, several bloody scars appeared on the black-robed expert's body. The black-robed expert was horrified by the outcome. Initially, he thought that with his cultivation base in the 6th level of Heavenly Dipper, he would be able to suppress Lin Yi. However, he didn't expect Lin Yi to actually use a 9th-grade spiritual weapon. Compared to other 7th-grade spiritual weapons, a 9th-grade spiritual weapon was on a completely different level. More importantly, Lin Ye's sword rays carried a terrifying sword intent. Damn it! The black-robed cultivator was enraged. He waved the sickle in his hand, and dozens of cold lights slashed towards Lin Yi. At this moment, he did not dare to hold back. If he held back, he would be the one to die. You should have thought of the price you would have to pay when you were chasing after me. You can't afford to pay this price. The long sword in Lin Ye's hand slashed out, and a sword light sprayed out. His figure flashed, leaving behind a series of afterimages. With the wings of space, he could fly in the air. It was his biggest trump card. He wouldn't use it now, but after cultivating the wings of space, his movement technique became even more magical. For a moment, the two of them were fighting in the wilderness. The sword and saber rays clashed continuously, producing crisp sounds. One was at the peak of Heaven Star Border Stage 6, using a level 7 spiritual weapon. The other was at the peak of Heaven Star Border Stage 2, using a level 9 spiritual weapon. Time ticked by. The battle between the two had reached its climax. It's over. Lin Ye's voice resounded. The long sword in his hand drew a sword ray. When the sword ray was drawn, the long sword had already disappeared. He executed the Heavenly Emperor fist and punched towards the black-robed expert. Suddenly, a terrifying fist radiance tore through space and headed straight for the black-robed elite. When the fist radiance appeared, all the flowers and trees within a radius of 100 meters were turned into dust. No, boom! Feeling the threat of death, the black-robed expert trembled in fear before the fist radiance of the Celestial Emperor fist. His face turned pale and he wanted to dodge, but the fist radiance seemed to have locked onto him. There was no way for him to dodge. He could only watch helplessly as the destructive fist light bombarded him. At this moment, he understood that in the battle with Lin Yi just now, Lin Yi was just toying with him. With a loud explosion, the black-robed powerhouse's chest was penetrated by the fist radiance. Large cracks appeared on the ground. Heavenly Emperor Fist, Level 1 Peak. Only those with a powerful cultivation can unleash its full power. Lin Yi quickly collected the storage pouches of the fallen expert. In a flash, he dashed off into the distance, shocked by the power of the Heavenly Emperor Fist. He, who had reached the Heaven Star Border Realm and was at the Level 1 peak of the Heavenly Emperor Fist, killed a Heaven Star Border Realm peak Level 6 with one punch. It was indeed a Saint-class martial skill. Its power was terrifying, even if it was only the Level 1. If the Level 1 was so powerful, then what about the Level 2? He dared not imagine the power, and he was looking forward to it. However, it would take at least a few years to cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist to the Level 2. Unless there was a powerful opportunity, it was impossible to cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist to the Level 2 in a short time. Saint-class martial skills were powerful, but it was also extremely difficult to cultivate. There's no news of those who went. Could it be that he killed all of them? Cloud Water City, the leader of the secret agents, the gray-robed old man, had a terrible look on his face. He had sent out several batches of experts, but none of them had returned. Needless to say, these Heaven Star Border experts who went to kill Lin Yi were all killed. Whether they were killed by Lin Yi or not, he was still unclear. But what was certain was that Lin Yi was still fine. Leader, Lin Yi's cultivation has reached Heaven Star Border Stage 3. When he left the Drifting Cloud City, he was still at the peak of the second level of the Heavenly Dipper realm. In just a few days, he broke through to the third level of the Heavenly Dipper realm. With his strength, even a 7th-level Heavenly Dipper realm cultivator wouldn't be his match. A green-robed secret agent felt the killing intent of the gray-robed old man. He couldn't help but feel afraid. He hurriedly recounted everything that he had seen. It seems that I have to go there personally. It can't go on like this. The gray-robed old man frowned. Originally, he didn't put a Heaven Star Border genius in his eyes, but now it seemed that if he didn't get rid of this genius early, he would definitely become a big problem for the Moon Kingdom. Whoosh whoosh, he ran non-stop for 20 days. Lin Yi was not far from the border between the Heaven Dragon Kingdom and the Yunshui Kingdom. At this speed, he would be able to enter the border city of the Heaven Dragon Kingdom in 3 days, Duan Yu City. In these 20 days, he ran at full speed during the day. At night, he looked for a hidden place to enter the ninefold space to cultivate. The rapid running made his movement technique more powerful. Moreover, the experts of the Moon Kingdom would occasionally surround and kill him, allowing him to increase his strength in battle. Now, he was comparable to those experts who had experienced hundreds of battles. He had rich combat experience and could use any strength to the extreme at the most critical moment. Heaven Star Border Stage 3. This was his cultivation. Even if he faced a Heaven Star Border Stage 7 expert, he didn't need to use the Heavenly Emperor Fist or the Tenfold Destruction Blade. He could kill them with the Thunderclap Sword art. As long as I enter the Heaven Dragon Kingdom, the experts of the Moon Kingdom wouldn't dare to be so unscrupulous. Lin Yi muttered to himself. In the Yunshui Kingdom, the experts of the Moon Kingdom chased after him unscrupulously because the Moon Kingdom was attacking the Yunshui Kingdom. There was no such thing as offending the Yunshui Kingdom. However, the Heaven Dragon Kingdom was different. After all, the Moon Kingdom hadn't fallen out with the Heaven Dragon Kingdom yet. Hiss. Hiss. At this moment, a murderous intent came from afar. That murderous intent made one's heart tremble. Everything within 1,000 meters was trembling non-stop. The space was constantly distorted. A terrifying pressure attacked Lin Ye's mind, making him feel a strong threat of death. He was very clear about this feeling. It was the same as the sneak attack by the black-robed manifestation realm expert in the arena. In fact, it was even stronger than the black-robed manifestation realm expert. Noticing this situation, Lin Yi stopped running. He activated the Luo Water Sutra and became alert. His divine sense covered a radius of 10,000 meters. Within 10,000 meters, everything and every movement was under his control. Under the scan of his divine sense, a gray figure was running at a terrifying speed. In an instant, it was a few hundred meters away. That gray figure exuded a domineering aura. With this speed, Lin Yi admitted that he couldn't escape. He already understood that this gray figure was different from the Heaven Star Border Realm experts who chased after him. This was because this was a manifestation realm expert. His entire body was constantly covered with celestial bodies. Wherever the figure passed, the surrounding flowers and trees would turn into dust. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi turned around and looked in the direction of the gray figure. He waited for the gray figure to appear. If he couldn't escape, then he would fight. He would fight with all his strength. Rumble, rumble, in an instant, the gray figure appeared in front of Lin Yi with the momentum of wind and thunder. He stopped 200 meters away from Lin Yi. At this moment, Lin Yi was enduring a terrifying pressure. It was as if there was a huge mountain on his back. You know your limits. If you surrender, I might be able to give you a quick death. The gray-robed elder saw that Lin Yi was standing in the same spot without any intention of escaping. Instead, he seemed to be waiting for him. He couldn't help but be startled. Was this the pride of a genius? Even so, he didn't take Lin Yi seriously. Geniuses were only geniuses. They weren't experts. If a genius didn't become an expert, no matter how monstrous he wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. Finally, a decent one, Lin Yi said indifferently as he stared at the gray-robed elder. This was indeed stronger than the black-robed manifestation realm expert. He couldn't see through the gray-robed elder's cultivation at all. The only thing he could be sure of was that this gray-robed elder was very powerful. If he wasn't careful, he would be doomed eternally. As he spoke, a level 9 spiritual artifact longsword appeared in his hand. With a casual slash, a sword light shot towards the gray-robed elder. The one who strikes first gains the upper hand. The one who strikes later suffers. Since his cultivation was inferior to the gray-robed elder, he naturally wouldn't hold back. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret. You will never know the strength of a manifestation realm expert. The gray-robed elder looked at the sword light with disdain. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying celestial body appeared. Celestial bodies were a power that only manifestation realm experts could possess. Once one reached the manifestation realm, they would be able to mobilize the power of celestial bodies and use the power of the celestial bodies to unleash a terrifying and magical power. The sword light was instantly drowned by the power of the celestial body and turned into nothingness. The sword light that carried sword intent was like a clay ox entering the sea. It didn't even cause a ripple. Lin Yi was shocked. He originally thought that after injuring a manifestation realm expert in the spirit maneuvering realm, he would be able to contend against one at the manifestation realm after reaching the Heaven Dipper realm level 3. At this moment, he finally understood that he was overthinking. The gap between the Heaven Dipper realm and the manifestation realm was like heaven and earth. Boom! With a muffled sound, the unparalleled celestial body ruthlessly crushed Lin Ye's body. Lin Yi suffered a heavy blow and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was thrown backwards. The manifestation realm is indeed powerful. His body felt like it was about to fall apart. His face was drained of blood and his heart was filled with shock. Just now, the gray-robed elder had injured him with a casual attack. The strength of a manifestation realm expert was indeed terrifying. He had to admit that even if he didn't use his absolute defense and Divine Dragon 9 transformations, however, he was wearing a feather robe. In addition to his strong physique, an all-out attack from someone at the same level couldn't hurt him. He understood that if it wasn't for his strong physique and the defense of his feather robe, he would have been killed by the gray-robed elder's manifestation realm expert. You can't even withstand a single blow. The gray-robed elder walked towards Lin Yi step by step. Every step crossed 100 meters. When he was not far from Lin Yi, he raised his hand and pressed down fiercely towards Lin Yi. With an unparalleled manifestation realm expert, he blasted towards Lin Yi. This attack was several times more powerful than the casual attack at the beginning. Chapter 46. Celestial Emperor Fist Collapse. Looking at the overbearing power of the old man in gray, Lin Ye's mind could not help but tremble. At this moment, he no longer dared to hold back. The Lua Water True Scripture ran to the extreme, and his true essence reached the peak of Heavenly Dipper Realm 3rd level. The Celestial Emperor Fist broke out at this moment. He swung his fist, and an overbearing fist radiance greeted the power of the 10,000 mammoth. The power of the Celestial Emperor, the fortune of the Celestial Emperor. All of these were reflected in the Celestial Emperor Fist. When the fist came out, the pressure of heaven and earth descended. In the fist radiance, it was like the arrival of the Celestial Emperor. For a time, heaven and earth changed color, and the wind and clouds rolled. With Lin Yi as the center, everything within 100 meters turned into powder. The old man in gray was shocked to see this. Even if he was in the manifestation realm and had lived for decades, he had seen countless powerful martial skills, but he had never seen such a magical and powerful martial skill. He naturally did not know that Lin Yi was using a saint stage martial skill. The power of a legendary martial technique was naturally unparalleled. Boom! The Celestial Emperor Fist collided with the power of the old man in gray, and suddenly the space within a kilometer was distorted. Countless flowers and trees turned into powder, sand and stones flew, and dust rose into the sky. The sound of the explosion killed all creatures within 10 miles. Puff, bang! In the dust, Lin Ye's body was like a kite with a short string, flying into the distance. In midair, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and his face looked pale and powerless. On the other side, the old man in gray was also surprised, and his body retreated backward. Although he did not spurt out blood like Lin Yi, he also suffered a strong shock. In his chest, he could not spit out a mouthful of blood. The overbearing power of the Celestial Emperor Fist remained in his body, making him feel a burst of fear. Such a martial skill was beyond his imagination. The difference in cultivation between the two was huge. Fortunately, Lin Ye's Celestial Emperor Fist was not inferior to the gray-robed elder's all-creation's force. He was at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation. If his realm was the same as the old man in gray, the old man in gray would have died at this moment without any suspense. This boy must not be left alive. The gray-robed elder thought to himself. Even if he had to pay a great price, he had to kill Lin Yi and prevent him from reaching the manifestation realm. He could imagine that if Lin Yi reached the manifestation realm, it would be impossible for him to kill him. Now, the experts of the Moon Kingdom had thousands of ways to make him disappear. As for this price, it was nothing to the Moon Kingdom. A message was sent out silently. All of this happened in just a few seconds. After doing all this, the gray-clothed old man circulated his cultivation technique. His 10,000 mammoth force reached its peak and he executed a heaven-ranked martial skill. When he attacked Lin Yi earlier, he had only used the most basic 10,000 mammoth force. He had not even used a martial skill. Now he knew that if he wanted to kill Lin Yi, he had no choice but to use martial techniques. Moreover, ordinary martial techniques might not be able to kill Lin Yi. In order to avoid any more trouble, he had to kill Lin Yi as quickly as possible. If the super experts of Shengwu College arrived, he would have no chance. As his hands moved, the constellation trembled. With him as the center, he was the master of the area within 100 meters. The difference between heaven's star and manifestation is like heaven and earth. Blade of constellation, die. The gray-clothed elder's cold voice sounded. The moment his voice fell, the constellation in the sky turned into a huge blade of light. The blade of light tore through space and slashed toward Lin Yi. Wherever the blade of light passed, space was directly cut open. With this attack, he wanted to kill Lin Yi. Divine Dragon 9 Transformations, Flood Dragon Transformation. Rainbow Feather Raiment activate. The difference between heaven's star and manifestation is like heaven and earth. However, it won't be so easy for you to kill me. Skyflame's Sacred Blade, Tenfold Destruction Blade. Tier 2 Destruction. Lin Yi landed on the ground and looked at the gray-clothed elder's terrifying martial technique. That blade of light caused his heart to tremble. He knew that the gray-clothed elder was going to kill him with this attack. At this moment, he didn't dare to hesitate anymore. The second transformation of the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations, the Flood Dragon Transformation, was displayed. Although he was very confident in his current physique and defense, he still didn't dare to be careless. The Rainbow Feather Raiment was also activated. The two strongest defenses could at least guarantee that he wouldn't be killed. He activated his defense. In an instant, his eyes were cold as he looked at the incoming blade of light. In his hand, the Skyflame's Sacred Blade also erupted with the terrifying pressure of a saint artifact. The pressure of a saint artifact was incomparably domineering. With endless blade intent, it tore through space. The saint artifact combined with the powerful tenfold destruction blade. Two blade lights slashed toward the gray-clothed elder. The blade lights bombarded the blade of light one after another. Crash, rumble, the blade of light and the blade light collided. The space was shattered into pieces by the blade light and the blade of light. The rumbling sound didn't stop as the destructive power raged. The blade of light formed by the celestial phenomenon disappeared at the same time as Lin Ye's first blade light. However, Lin Ye's second blade light descended toward the gray-clothed elder. Seeing this, the gray-clothed elder couldn't help but be shocked. Seeing that he was about to be killed by the blade light, the gray-clothed elder waved his hand, and the magical 10,000 mammoth force blocked in front of him. Boom puff, with a muffled sound, the 10,000 mammoth force defense was torn apart by the blade light. The blade light bombarded the gray-clothed elder. The gray-clothed elder couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His body flew backward. This was the first time he had spat out blood. He couldn't even care about the face of a 10,000 mammoth realm elite. At this moment, he wasn't just hurt physically, but also his dignity. A 10,000 mammoth realm elite was seriously injured by a Heaven Star border realm martial artist. It was undoubtedly a humiliation. 10,000 mammoth realm is just so. You should be the joke of the 10,000 mammoth realm, Lin Yi said indifferently. His figure flashed as he charged toward the gray-clothed elder. The Sky Flame's Sacred Blade in his hand continuously slashed at the gray-clothed elder. Every slash carried an unparalleled blade light and blade intent. For a moment, the ground was flashing with destructive blade light and blade light. The space was sliced apart by the blade light. Countless huge trees and boulders were constantly shattered. Sand flew away and dust soared into the sky. What a powerful force! A 10,000 mammoth realm elite is fighting. We can't watch from up close. We can only watch from afar. No, the one who used the blade light is a young man, and he doesn't have any celestial phenomenon. That young man is only in the Heaven Star border realm. Oh my God! That blade light is too overbearing. Even if I'm in the Heaven Star Border Realm Stage 8, I don't have the slightest confidence to block it. Who is this young man? He's so powerful. This is crazy. The place where Lin Yi and the gray-clothed elder were fighting wasn't far from Duanyue City in the Sky Dragon Kingdom. Moreover, this was the only way to travel between the Yunshui Kingdom and the Sky Dragon Kingdom. There were countless elites coming and going. The terrifying battle attracted the attention of countless martial artists and elite. For a moment, many martial artists came to watch, but they only dared to watch from afar. They didn't dare to get close to avoid being caught in the crossfire. Damn it! The gray-clothed elder was enraged. He didn't expect Lin Ye's saint weapon to be so powerful, especially that martial technique. It was a perfect match with the saint weapon long saber. When the Skyflame sacred saber used the tenfold destruction blade, its power could destroy heaven and earth. One move put him at a disadvantage, and Lin Yi took the initiative and the upper hand. He was immediately suppressed by Lin Yi. He didn't even have the chance to fight back. As long as he was distracted, he would be seriously injured by the unparalleled blade light. Thunder Light Shield. He understood that if this continued, he would only be beaten up. Not to mention other things, he would lose all his face. Taking advantage of the gap between dodging the blade light, a very small shield appeared in the palm of his hand. Powerful True Yuan was injected into the shield, and suddenly the small shield erupted with a terrifying power. That small shield instantly became several meters in size, and it emitted a terrifying light of thunder and lightning. Boom! The blade light fell on the Thunder Light Shield, and there was a roar. The Thunder Light Shield trembled constantly, but the Thunder Light Shield persisted and was not broken. It was the Thunder Light Shield that blocked the attack for the gray-clothed elder. The gray-clothed elder had a chance to catch his breath. He suddenly jumped up and punched towards Lin Yi. The fist light distorted the space, carrying with it the power of destruction. Poochie! The fist light was extremely powerful, and its speed was terrifying. Lin Yi didn't have the slightest chance to react, and the fist hit him. The defense of the Jiao Dragon transformation was broken, and the colorful feather cloak flickered. Suddenly, Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated backward. The ground under his feet was cut into a deep trench. The Jiao Dragon transformation offset most of the attack. The first layer of the absolute defense offset 50% of the remaining attack. The colorful feather cloak offset 50% of the following attack. In other words, Lin Yi suffered 10% of the gray-clothed elder's power. Even if it was only 10%, it was enough to injure him. This was the full power of a manifestation realm elite. Change of celestial form, destroy. The gray-clothed elder had rich battle experience. Seeing that Lin Yi was injured, he immediately took advantage of the opportunity. Immediately, he gained the upper hand and seized the initiative. The Manifestation Realm Elite's transformation of celestial form erupted at this moment. His entire cultivation technique was activated, and he mobilized the power of the celestial form. The domineering and destructive power turned into a ray of light, and it ruthlessly crushed towards Lin Yi. The power was domineering, and everywhere it passed, the space was constantly crushed and shattered. At this moment, the sky changed color, the wind and clouds rolled, and sand and stones flew. Everything became the attack of the gray-clothed elder's transformation of celestial form, and it pressed towards Lin Yi from all directions. Absolute defense. Shield of Earth. Freezing Sky Aurora and it. Lin Yi knew that the gray-clothed elder's strongest attack had erupted. At this moment, Lin Yi didn't hold back. He activated the absolute defense, which could only be used once a day. At the same time, a palm-sized talisman appeared in his palm. This was a rank 5 talisman. A rank 1 talisman against an acquired realm. A rank 2 talisman against an innate realm. A rank 3 talisman against an agile realm. A rank 4 talisman against an astral star. A rank 5 talisman against a manifestation realm. The rank 5 talisman that Lin Yi used wasn't an offensive talisman, but a defensive talisman. A defensive talisman was more precious than an offensive talisman. After all, a defensive talisman could save one's life. The talisman turned into a thick shield of earth. For a moment, a Tai Chi shield protected Lin Yi, and a shield of earth was in front of the Tai Chi shield. Lin Yi charged towards the destructive power with his powerful defense. This scene shocked countless elites watching the battle from the horizon. They all knew how terrifying the strongest attack of a manifestation realm elite was, but they didn't expect that not only did Lin Yi not dodge, but he also charged towards the destructive attack. Chapter 47. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi had entered a destructive attack. The shield of earth was constantly weakened. When he was 100 meters away from the gray-robed elder, the shield of earth had already disappeared. When he was 50 meters away from the gray-robed elder, the absolute defense of the Taiji shield trembled rapidly, as if it was about to shatter at any moment. However, Lin Yi did not give up and continued to rush towards the gray-robed elder at his fastest speed. When Lin Yi was only 10 meters away from the gray-robed elder, the absolute defense of the Taiji shield finally dissipated and disappeared. Lin Yi suffered a destructive attack. However, at this moment, Lin Yi waved his hand, and a ray of light cut through space and appeared in front of the gray-robed elder. The gray-robed elder saw that Lin Yi's defense had disappeared and could not help but feel happy. He heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He knew that Lin Yi would definitely die this time. This mere Heaven-Star border realm youth posed a threat to him that was even more terrifying than the Wanxiang realm. Now that he was finally going to die, no one would be able to threaten the Moon Kingdom in the future. A ray of light appeared in his line of sight. The appearance of the ray of light stunned him. Then, he was stunned. He did not know what the ray of light was. However, a trace of horror and despair flashed in his eyes. This was because the ray of light disappeared in front of him without any hindrance. When it reappeared, it was already dozens of meters behind him. His vitality had strangely disappeared. The moment he realized this, his body was split into two. His neck was severed by the ray of light and his head fell down. His vitality was completely drained. In his last consciousness, he knew that he had been destroyed by that terrifying ray of light. From the beginning to the end, he did not know what the ray of light was. The only thing he knew was that Lin Yi approached him to use that destructive ray of light to kill him. He severely injured Lin Yi, but he himself was killed by Lin Yi. Boom! Lin Yi's body suffered a heavy blow. He was sent flying by the destructive attack and finally fell heavily to the ground. In the sky, sand flew everywhere. Dark clouds rolled and dust filled the sky. After an unknown period of time, Lin Yi got up from the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the gray-robed elder in the distance. At this moment, the gray-robed elder was already dead. Freezing sky aurora is too terrifying. It's just that I've just entered the first threshold. When I reach the peak, the heavenly frost aurora will no longer be a ray of light, but an endless sea of lasers. Wherever it passes, the world will be destroyed, and no one will be able to stop it. When that day comes, I will definitely dominate the world. Lin Yi looked at the gray-robed elder's corpse and muttered to himself. He had comprehended the freezing sky aurora. He had also cultivated a little, but he was only at the first level. The original aurora was a sea of light, but he only had a little bit of it. When he displayed it, it was only a ray of light. It was far from the Aurora Sea. However, even if it was only a ray of light, it was enough to kill the gray-robed elder. Whoosh! After a while, Lin Yi took the gray-robed elder's storage bag. Then, he carried his injured body and ran far away. Under the scan of his divine will, he found many Heaven Star Border Realm experts watching from afar. This wasn't a place to stay for long. He had to leave quickly. If one or two more Manifestation Realm experts from the Moon Kingdom came, he would really be in danger. Moreover, there were many powerful Heaven Star Border Realm experts watching from afar. Although they weren't as strong as the gray-robed elder, they were still a great threat to him. 3 days later, Lin Yi entered the Duan-Yu city of the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. After resting for a day in the Duan-Yu city, he went straight to the Heavenly Dragon City. The Heavenly Dragon City was the capital of the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. It was the center of politics, wealth, power, and strength. This was his final goal. After being seriously injured by the gray-robed elder, he traveled during the day and recuperated in the ninefold space at night. Although he was injured in the battle with the gray-robed elder, it gave him valuable combat experience. He also experienced the power of the Heavenly Emperor Fist and the tenfold destruction blade. He also saw the magic of the Skyfrost Aurora. It made him understand that he couldn't be careless with these saint-ranked martial skills. Only the saint-ranked martial skills would be more powerful the deeper he cultivated them. The more powerful they were, the more secure his life would be. For half a month, Lin Yi ran quickly and used the teleportation array along the way. Finally, he arrived at the capital of the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom, Heavenly Dragon City. Heavenly Dragon City. It was even more prosperous than the Cloudwater Royal City. It showed the strength of a kingdom. Persuade the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom to attack the Moon Kingdom. The combined strength of the two kingdoms can't compare to the Moon Kingdom, but it can restrain the Moon Kingdom. I hope the king of the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom can set his sights further. Lin Yi found an inn in the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom to stay. After adjusting his breathing and cultivating, he recovered to his peak. He muttered to himself and left the Cloudwater Royal City for the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. The purpose of this trip was not only to attract the experts of the Moon Kingdom and reduce the pressure on the Cloudwater Royal City, but also to persuade the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. Let the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom attack the Moon Kingdom. Although the hope was small, there was no harm in giving it a try. Besides, it was a kind of experience anyway. He would shift the battlefield to the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom and the Moon Kingdom. Heavenly Dragon Kingdom, Royal Palace. The entire Royal Palace was brightly lit and peaceful. That little guy from Xingu College is already in the city. I wonder what that little guy is doing in my Heavenly Dragon City. In a secret hall in the depths of the Royal Palace, 5 experts with high cultivation were gathered together. The one sitting at the head wasn't the king, Zhao Yunxiao, but an old man in his 50s. The old man's beard and eyebrows were white, and his body emitted a powerful pressure. Next to him was Zhao Yunxiao, the monarch. If the citizens of the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom saw this scene, their jaws would drop. After all, in the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom, the king was the most powerful. But now the king, Zhao Yunxiao, couldn't sit at the head of the table. Only an old man sat at the head of the table. The one who spoke was the king, Zhao Yunxiao. Although he didn't sit at the head of the table, he wasn't dissatisfied at all. Instead, he felt that this seat was natural, because the person sitting at the head of the table was his grandfather, the strongest in the Zhao family. This little guy wants to persuade us. He wants us to attack the Moon Kingdom. The old man sitting at the head of the table said calmly. It was as if everything was under his control. His name was Zhao Tianji. When he was young, he was a genius of his generation. Now, his cultivation had surpassed all creation. On the surface, Zhao Yunxiao was the king, but the one who made the decision was still Zhao Tianji. Persuade us to attack the Moon Kingdom? Are you kidding? He's not the king of the Yunshui Kingdom. What identity does he have to come to our Heavenly Dragon Kingdom? The Yunshui Kingdom is being attacked by the Moon Kingdom, and they want to drag our Heavenly Dragon Kingdom down with them. Moreover, it's just a young man with no identity. What do they think our heavenly dragon kingdom is? Hearing Zhao Tianji's words, the 4 Zhao family elders were stunned. Then, they were confused and even a little angry. Don't underestimate him. Give him 3 to 5 years. He's invincible in the Heaven Star border realm. Zhao Tianji waved his hand and said. Lin Ye's every move was reported to him by spies. The information he received was even more than what Zhao Yunxiao had received. The higher one's cultivation, the higher one's vision would be, and the more accurate one's judgment would be. If he didn't know about Lin Ye's talent and strength, he wouldn't have said that. He's so monstrous? But even if he's monstrous, he's just a genius. Grandfather, what are your plans? The Zhao family elders in the secret hall all had the same status as Zhao Yunxiao. Their cultivation was unparalleled, and they were the pillars of the heavenly dragon kingdom. The Zhao family was not only the royal family of the heavenly dragon kingdom, but also the leader of the top 10 families. Of course I have plans. Give this to him, Zhao Tianji said with a profound smile. At the same time, he took out a jade slip and floated it to Zhao Yunxiao. Grandfather, this is? Zhao Yunxiao looked at the jade slip curiously, wanting to know what was inside. However, without Zhao Tianji's permission, he didn't dare to look at the information inside the jade slip. Even if he was the king of the heavenly dragon kingdom, in the eyes of the citizens, he was supreme. But in Zhao Tianji's eyes, he was just a junior. As long as Zhao Tianji was willing, he could decide who the king of the heavenly dragon kingdom was. The situation of the heavenly dragon kingdom is not much better than the Yunshui kingdom. This time, let's take a gamble. If he's smart, he'll know what to do. Zhao Tianji didn't explain what was inside the jade slip, but when he spoke, there was a trace of expectation on his face, and also a trace of helplessness. A kingdom was stuck in the hands of a young man. Of course, an old fox like him who had lived for hundreds of years would naturally do things well. Then I'll give him the jade slip. Zhao Yunxiao nodded. In the end, he left the secret hall, and the other elders also left. Old fox, he's really an old fox. In an inn in the heavenly dragon city, Lin Yi held a jade slip, and after reading the information inside, he couldn't help but sigh. He couldn't help but admire those old foxes who had lived for hundreds of years. Their wisdom and experience were incomparable, and they were even more cunning than foxes. No one could take advantage of them. This jade slip was delivered by a Heaven Dipper realm powerhouse a quarter of an hour ago. After reading the information, he roughly knew who the owner of this jade slip was. It was sent by someone in the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom's palace. The information in the jade slip was that the other party had already understood the purpose of Lin Ye's trip to the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. The other party clearly told him that the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom could be gambled once, but Lin Yi had to take the head of the Moon Kingdom's king. As long as Lin Yi did this, the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom would make some movements that would make the Moon Kingdom wary. Unknowingly, they would be restrained by the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom, and reduce the pressure on the Yunshui Kingdom. The head of Huangfu Jinglei's father. This is undoubtedly as difficult as ascending the heavens. Lin Ye's mouth revealed a trace of a bitter smile. Huangfu Jinglei's father was the current king of the Moon Kingdom. How powerful was the Moon Kingdom? Just the number of Wanxiang realm elites was several times more than the other kingdoms. Moreover, it was said that the Moon Kingdom had an existence that surpassed the Wanxiang realm. As the king of the Moon Kingdom, there were countless elites by his side. The king of the Moon Kingdom himself was a Wanxiang realm elite. It was too difficult to kill him. It was already difficult to kill a Wanxiang realm elite, let alone in the Moon Kingdom's Baiwei city. Chapter 48. Looks like I really have to go to Moon Worship City. Lin Yi pondered for a long time and finally made up his mind. Moon Worship City was the capital of the Moon Kingdom. Regardless of the conditions of the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom or his own situation, he had to make a trip to Moon Worship City. It was one of the strongest kingdoms in the Sky Sea realm and was several times stronger than the Yunshui Kingdom. In such a place there were countless experts and geniuses. In such a place he could train himself. After making up his mind, Lin Yi recuperated in the inn with peace of mind. The injuries that the gray-robed elder inflicted on him were indeed serious. That was a head-on battle with a Wanxiang realm expert. If it wasn't for the rainbow feather robe, Jiao dragon transformation, and absolute defense, he wouldn't have been able to withstand the attack of the gray-robed elder. During the day, he cultivated and paid attention to the war between the Yunshui Kingdom and the Moon Kingdom. At night, he entered the ninefold space to cultivate and recuperate. Time passed day by day. In a month's time, Lin Ye's injuries were completely healed. Under the recuperation, his cultivation had successfully reached the Heaven Star Border Stage 4. His strength was much stronger than before. If he were to meet a Wanxiang realm expert like the gray-robed elder again, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. In this month, he also learned about the war between the Moon Kingdom and the Yunshui Kingdom. The Yunshui Kingdom's army was gathered in Cloud Water City. All the experts were also there, preparing to fight the Moon Kingdom's army. At the border of the Moon Kingdom, 3 million troops had already entered the Yunshui Kingdom. Not long after the army entered the Yunshui Kingdom, the experts of the Moon Kingdom arrived outside Cloud Water City and waited for the army to surround the city. It's time to head to Moon Worship City. Lin Yi tidied up a little and muttered to himself. Then, he left the Inn and Sky Dragon City, heading towards the Moon Kingdom. After this period of understanding, he had a rough understanding of the strength of the 36 kingdoms. In the Sky Sea realm, the strongest realm was the Wanxiang realm. Of course, every kingdom had hidden existences that surpassed the manifestation realm. However, these experts that had surpassed the manifestation realm usually wouldn't appear. They were all in secluded cultivation and rarely participated in the affairs of the kingdoms. They were legendary figures that were elusive. The strength of the 36 kingdoms varied greatly. The number 1 kingdom was more powerful than the other 35 kingdoms combined. Moreover, above the 36 kingdoms, there was a supreme power that ruled over the 36 kingdoms. This force was called the Heavenly Sea Sect. The Heavenly Sea Sect was definitely the overlord of the Sky Sea realm. However, such a force was detached from worldly affairs. Normally, it was impossible to see anyone from the Tianhai sect. Cultivation, influence, strength. This is the foundation of standing in this world. After Lin Yi left Heavenly Dragon City, he hurried on his way at full speed. Right now, what he desired the most was power. If he had enough power, he wouldn't need to fear the Moon Kingdom. He wouldn't even need to fear the Heavenly Sea Sect, the overlord of the Sky Sea realm. He, a Heaven Star Border realm cultivator, killed Huang Fuling. He stayed in Heavenly Dragon City for a month, and now he's coming to the Moon Kingdom. Moon Kingdom, Moon Worship City, Moon Worship Palace. In the palace, some of the top figures of the Moon Kingdom were shocked. The insignificant genius in their eyes was actually so heaven-defying. In just 1 or 2 months, he had reached Heaven Star Border Realm Stage 3 from the Spirit Manipulation Realm. He even killed the Moon Kingdom's spy leader in the Yunshui Kingdom, Huang Fuling. One had to know that Huang Fuling was a Manifestation Realm cultivator. A Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator killing a Manifestation Realm cultivator. It was unimaginable and unbelievable. Now, this young man had left Heavenly Dragon City and was heading towards the Moon Kingdom. Wasn't he afraid of death? This young man always did things beyond expectations. It's better for him to come to the Moon Kingdom. Save us the trouble of sending people to kill him, the Imperial Preceptor of the Moon Kingdom said coldly. If Lin Yi was in the Yunshui Kingdom and Heavenly Dragon Kingdom, the Moon Kingdom would be more or less afraid. After all, those two kingdoms weren't their territory. Now that Lin Yi had come to the Moon Kingdom, he was undoubtedly courting death. The Moon Kingdom could send experts to kill Lin Yi without any scruples, making it impossible for Lin Yi to return to the Yunshui Kingdom. Not long after, Lin Yi disappeared from the Moon Kingdom's sight. Countless experts who were chasing after Lin Yi lost track of Lin Yi. Lin Yi seemed to have evaporated into thin air. Brother-in-law went to the Moon Kingdom. What should we do? Luo Xing'er had long known that Lin Yi had left the Cloud Water City and that Lin Yi was in the Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. She had always been worried about Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi was only in the Heaven Star Border realm. Those who were chasing after him were all experts at the peak of the Heaven Star Border realm. There were even some in the Manifestation realm. Now, she knew that Lin Yi had gone to the Moon Kingdom. The Moon Kingdom was the Yunshui Kingdom's biggest enemy. Countless experts from the Moon Kingdom wanted to kill Lin Yi. It could even be said that the reason the Baiwei Kingdom attacked the Cloud Water Kingdom in advance was because of Lin Yi's appearance. After all, Lin Yi was too monstrous, and the Baiwei Kingdom was wary of him. They were worried that Lin Yi would become a stumbling block for the Baiwei Kingdom when he grew up. Young Master Lin is powerful. He will be fine. But why is he going to the Moon Kingdom? Going to the Moon Kingdom is no different from sending a lamb to a tiger's den. Luo Xing'er was also worried. He wants to use himself to attract the experts and army of the Moon Kingdom. He was not going to come to the Yunshui Kingdom. Luo Bingyue had already reached the Heaven Star Border Stage 3. She also knew about Lin Yi's whereabouts. A trace of worry appeared on her cold and beautiful face. This was definitely rare. Even Luo Xing'er rarely saw her sister's expression change. She knew that Lin Yi came to the Yunshui Kingdom because of her. If it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have appeared in the Yunshui Kingdom. Now that they were no longer engaged, she didn't want to bring trouble to the Yunshui Kingdom. This was what she thought in her heart. There are more and more experts outside the Cloud Water City. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers from the Moon Kingdom are at the city gates. The experts of the 4 major schools and the royal family are also gathered at the city walls, preparing to resist the attack of the Moon Kingdom. Luo Xing'er said. Outside the Cloud Water City, the army and experts of the Moon Kingdom were at the city gate. They could attack the city at any time, even if Lin Yi was no longer in the city. Even if brother-in-law didn't appear. The Moon Kingdom will also attack the Yunshui Kingdom because they want to annex the Yunshui Kingdom. Luo Xing'er was talented and intelligent. Naturally, she could see the situation between the Moon Kingdom and the Yunshui Kingdom. The 36 kingdoms had lived in peace for hundreds of years. However, this was all on the surface. In the dark, there were surging winds and clouds, suppressing and competing with each other. Now, the secret battle between the 36 kingdoms had gradually become an open competition. The war only lacked a fuse, an excuse that was not an excuse. Lin Yi's appearance was undoubtedly the reason why the Moon Kingdom attacked the Yunshui Kingdom. 1 month later, in the Moon Kingdom's Shunan Prefecture, Lin Yi appeared in the Shunan Prefecture. The Shunan Prefecture was only thousands of miles away from the Moon Kingdom. It was the central city of the Moon Kingdom and was also one of the 3 most prosperous cities in the Moon Kingdom. It was almost the same as the Cloud Water City. In the Moon Kingdom, the Shunan Prefecture was not only one of the 3 major cities, but more importantly, the Shunan Prefecture was the place where the Moon Kingdom offered sacrifices to the heavens. The Moon Kingdom was the capital. The Shunan Prefecture was the place where the heavens were offered sacrifices to the heavens. Every year, the king of the Moon Kingdom would personally lead hundreds of officials and countless geniuses of the royal family to offer sacrifices to the heavens in the Shunan Prefecture. They would activate the destiny of the Moon Kingdom for a year and baptize the geniuses of the Moon Kingdom. The 9th day of the 9th month, the sacrifice to the heavens. When the sacrifice to the heavens began, the heavens would bestow the ultimate destiny. Those who received the destiny would have heaven-defying luck. There was a small sacrifice every year, a large sacrifice every 10 years, a sacred sacrifice every 100 years, and a god sacrifice every 1,000 years. This year was the legendary year of sacred sacrifice in the Baiwe kingdom. It was also the year of sacred sacrifice that lasted for 1,000 years. The Baiwe kingdom had existed for 999 years. It had gone through 999 minor sacrifices, 99 major sacrifices, and finally, the sacred sacrifice. This year was the 10th sacred sacrifice of the Moon Kingdom, and the first god sacrifice. Every small sacrifice, countless ninth-grade spiritual veins would appear. Every large sacrifice, many geniuses with emperor physiques would appear. During the sacred sacrifice, there was a chance for a saint physique to appear. During the 9th sacred sacrifice, 2 saint physiques appeared. As for the god sacrifice, no one knew whether the legendary heaven-defying physique would appear. This was because no one had seen a god sacrifice before and did not know what it was like. For this sacred sacrifice and god sacrifice, the Moon Kingdom had prepared for decades. There were still 2 months to the 9th of September, but Shun'an Prefecture was already overcrowded. Not only were there geniuses of the Moon Kingdom, but there were also geniuses of the other 35 countries in the Sky Sea realm. In order to ensure the safety of Shun'an Prefecture, the Moon Kingdom had relaxed their siege on the Sky Sea realm. The progress of the attack on the Cloud Water Kingdom had slowed down. Furthermore, they had stationed 1,000,000 soldiers in Shun'an Prefecture City. Countless super experts were stationed in Shun'an Prefecture City, and the patrols were 100 times stricter than usual. This was definitely the biggest event in the Moon Kingdom in the past 1,000 years. In the eyes of the Moon Kingdom's Huangfu family, the overlapping of the 100-year sacred sacrifice and the 1,000-year god sacrifice was an opportunity for the Moon Kingdom to reach the peak. When the time came, the Moon Kingdom would be able to reach the top of the Sky Sea realm and challenge the Heavenly Sea sect. Shun'an Prefecture became the focus of countless geniuses of the 36 countries in the Sky Sea realm. Everyone's attention was attracted by the Heavenly Sacrifice Ceremony. The Heavenly Sacrifice Ceremony. It's the day of Huangfu Tianming's death. Lin Yi muttered to himself as he looked at the mountain 100 miles away from Shun'an Prefecture. He had been in Shun'an Prefecture for 3 days. Before coming to Shun'an Prefecture, he had already received news of the Heavenly Sacrifice Ceremony. If there was no Heavenly Sacrifice Ceremony, he would have gone straight to Moon Worship City instead of staying in Shun'an Prefecture. It was really a case of traveling far and wide in search of something, only to find it by chance. To him, Shun'an Prefecture was safer than Moon Worship City. Moon Worship City was the capital of the Moon Kingdom. It was the base camp and gathering place for all the armies and experts. It was too risky for him to go to Moon Worship City. Shun'an Prefecture was relatively safer. After looking at the mountain in the distance, Lin Yi retracted his gaze. The place where the mountain was located was where the Heavenly Sacrifice Ceremony would take place. When the time came, the King of the Moon Kingdom, Huangfu Tianming, would lead hundreds of officials and members of the royal family to worship the heavens. He calmed himself down and began to cultivate in seclusion. Chapter 49. 2 months in the outside world was equivalent to 16 months in the ninefold space. Lin Yi didn't waste any time and spent all his time on cultivation. After tireless cultivation, his cultivation had finally reached Heaven's Star Border Realm Stage 6. Compared to 2 months ago, he was several times stronger. What made him even more excited was that he had successfully cultivated the 3rd stage of the tenfold destruction blade. He had successfully comprehended and cultivated the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal. His other martial skills had also improved by quite a bit. Now, if he were to encounter another manifestation realm like the gray-robed old man, he would be able to face him head-on and kill him without suffering such heavy injuries. Even if he was pursued by a manifestation realm elite, he could still escape if he couldn't win. At the very least, his survival skills were better. While he was cultivating, there were more and more experts and martial artists in Shun and Prefecture. All the geniuses from the 36 countries of the Sky Sea realm had gathered in Shun and Prefecture. Tomorrow is the grand sacrificial ceremony. I wonder if we can get some fate from the grand sacrificial ceremony. It's a pity that the Moon Kingdom's geniuses are closest to the sacrificial altar. The royal family's disciples are standing directly on the sacrificial altar, so their chances are higher. I wonder how many super geniuses will appear in the Moon Kingdom this time. The 99 levels of the sacrificial altar are so easy to deal with. Indeed, only the Heaven Star Border Realm geniuses can go up to the 99 levels of the sacrificial altar. The limit of fate will only fall on the Heaven Star Border Realm. There is also a chance for it to fall on the Inborn Realm, but it will never fall on those who have surpassed the Heaven Star Border Realm. All in all, the Moon Kingdom's royal family's disciples have the highest chance. Don't be envious. This is the Moon Kingdom. If we can get some benefits, we can enjoy them for the rest of our lives. Everyone was talking about the heaven-worshipping ceremony. The grand sacrificial ceremony was a ceremony for the Moon Kingdom to pray to the heavens for good weather and peace. At the same time, it was also a ceremony for the Heaven Star Border Realm disciples to bestow fate and talents. The sacrificial altar and the grand sacrificial ceremony were mystical and mysterious. Rumble, rumble, there were still a few hours before the grand sacrificial ceremony. The mountains hundreds of miles away from Shun and Prefecture exploded with a deafening sound. Even the Shun and Prefecture city could feel the tremors. The space kept shaking. Dark clouds covered the sky in a radius of 10,000 miles. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. This scene was seen by everyone in Shun and Prefecture. Everyone was incomparably shocked when they saw this scene. While they were shocked, they were also filled with anticipation because this was the prelude to the heavenly sacrificial ceremony. The stronger the omen, the more mystical the fate that would descend from the heavenly sacrificial hall. This was a sacred sacrifice that occurred once every 100 years, a divine sacrifice that occurred once every 1,000 years. The terrifying and miraculous heavenly anomaly lasted from night to the next morning. Not only did such an omen of heaven and earth not weaken due to the passage of time, it became even more terrifying and mysterious. Blood clouds appeared in the dark clouds, and the storm was like a sharp sword that cut through space. Some experts even noticed that the omen contained a destructive sword intent. Rumble, rumble amidst the endless horror, cracks began to appear where the mountain was. The cracked earth extended for hundreds of miles. Under the ground, a shocking light erupted. The light soared into the sky, straight into the clouds. Amidst this light, a mystical altar slowly rose up, appearing before the eyes of countless martial artists. The altar continued to rise without end. No one knew how tall this altar was. At this moment, millions of martial artists in Shun and Prefecture stared blankly at the altar in the light. Finally, 2 hours passed. The altar was finally fully revealed in front of the countless martial artists. 99 levels of the altar, 9 colors. Every 11 levels had a different color, and the highest level was a sparkling and translucent white. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, black. The entire altar was shrouded in a mystical radiance. Based on initial estimates, the altar this time was 10 times larger than the altar from the previous sacred sacrifice. It had a diameter of 100 miles and a height of 10,000 meters. It towered between heaven and earth, looking incomparably mystical. Boom, 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 the heaven and earth anomaly finally calmed down. Other than the 99 levels of the altar, everything else had disappeared. It was extremely quiet. At this moment the earth trembled again. Dust soared into the sky, its power shaking the heavens. Neat rows of silver-armored soldiers appeared. When the million-strong army took a step forward, it created a shocking rumbling sound. The ground trembled under their footsteps. Every soldier in the army was an inborn martial artist. Although an inborn martial artist was as weak as an ant in front of a Heaven Star border martial artist, the power of the million-strong army alone was enough to make a manifestation realm martial artist tremble. Their aura swept across the manifestation realm, and it was difficult for a manifestation realm martial artist to resist. In less than an hour, the million-strong army had surrounded the altar. A passage opened up in the middle of the army. On both sides of the passage, there were thousands of Heaven Star border realm guards. These guards extended from the altar to Shun and Prefecture. At this moment, a spacious flying carriage appeared outside Shun and Prefecture. It was a flying carriage, but it didn't look like one. It was like a chariot. On this chariot, there was a middle-aged man in a dragon robe and a golden crown. He looked down at the world with an extraordinary aura. Beside him, there were two gorgeous ladies on his left and right. The ladies were peerless, elegant, and noble. Long live the monarch! Long live the monarch! Long live the monarch! When the chariot appeared, the million-strong army and countless martial artists in Shun and Prefecture knelt down and saluted the middle-aged man. Even the thousands of Heaven Star border realm experts knelt down and saluted. His aura was domineering. Those martial artists who didn't know the middle-aged man knew his identity. He was the monarch of the Moon Kingdom, Huangfu Tianming. His status was at the top of the Sky-Sea realm. Rise. Huangfu Tianming waved his hand, indicating that the people saluting were excused. Only after receiving Huangfu Tianhao's signal did the entire army and martial artists stand up. Countless martial artists had expressions of worship and respect. In their eyes, Huangfu Tianhao was a supreme existence like a god. Huangfu Tianming. Lin Yi was on the city wall of Shun and Prefecture. He looked at the middle-aged man on the chariot with a faint smile on his face. This would be the target of his killing spree. This was also his first time seeing Huangfu Tianming. Behind Huangfu Jinglei's chariot were the super geniuses of the royal family, as well as the descendants of the nobles and ministers. Huangfu Jinglei was the first. He was not only a god's favored one, but also the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom. In fact, there were more than 100 people with the same cultivation as him. There were even many Heaven Star realm cultivators who were stronger than him. However, due to his status, they didn't dare to be too high-profile. The chariot quickly moved towards the altar. Countless members of the royal family had excited looks on their faces. The sacred sacrifice and the divine sacrifice, which happened once in 100 years, had appeared at the same time. For them, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they could obtain the ultimate fate this time, it would change their lives. With the speed of the chariot, it didn't take long to reach the altar. Huangfu Tianming led a group of Heaven's favored ones to the altar. Heaven's blessed ones and moon worship. First, pray for the prosperity of the Baiwen nation. Second, pray for the longevity of the Baiwen nation. Third, pray for the prosperity of the Baiwen nation. Fourth, pray for the prosperity of the Baiwen nation. 5 worships to the heavens, praying for heaven-defying luck to descend upon the prodigy of the moon. Huangfu Tianming knelt and worshipped the altar. Huangfu Tianming would kneel once every time he worshipped the heavens. All the members of the royal family and the descendants of the nobles and ministers would also kneel and kowtow. The grand ceremony was solemn and cautious. After the 5th, 9 manifestation realm powerhouses of the Moon Kingdom appeared. A magical array was activated, and a silver bowl appeared in each of their hands. Inside the silver bowl was the blood essence of demonic beasts. The blood essence was the blood essence of heaven realm demonic beasts, and there was even blood essence of king-level demonic beasts. The 9 manifestation realm powerhouses sprinkled the blood essence in the silver bowl onto the altar. Although it looked like a small silver bowl, it was actually a miraculous treasure. It contained a vast amount of essence blood, and the essence blood in the silver bowl was like a surging river. Seeing this scene, countless martial artists were shocked. They didn't expect the Moon Kingdom to kill so many powerful demonic beasts for this grand ceremony. The blood essence burned, and blood essence soared to the sky. A magical power soared into the sky and merged with the radiance of the altar. The moment the blood essence and the radiance merged, a 9-colored radiance descended from the altar, enveloping an area of 100 miles. A shocking pressure crushed this part of the world, and in the void there were continuous rumbles. Let the ceremony begin. After Huang Fu Tianming finished worshipping the heavens, a manifestation realm powerhouse shouted. At the same time, Huang Fu Tianming and the other manifestation realm powerhouses quickly left the altar. The million-strong army also quickly retreated, leaving a space of 100 miles. However, the geniuses of the royal family and the descendants of the nobles and ministers quickly headed towards the altar. The 99th level of the altar. In an hour, the geniuses of the royal family and the descendants of the palace had all climbed above the 11th level. Huang Fu Jinglei and some other super geniuses had already reached above the 20th level. There were even a dozen super geniuses who were even more terrifying than Huang Fu Jinglei. For the once-in-a-century sacred ceremony and the once-in-a-millennium sacred ceremony, they didn't need to endure anymore. If they missed this opportunity, they would be suppressed by Huang Fu Jinglei forever. If they obtained heaven-defying luck this time, even if Huang Fu Jinglei became the king, they wouldn't be afraid of Huang Fu Jinglei. After the royal family and the descendants of the nobles and ministers had all reached the 11th level, the army then allowed the other prodigies of the Moon Kingdom to head towards the altar. In 2 hours, the heaven star spirits of the Moon Kingdom had all reached the altar. Only then did the prodigies of the other 35 kingdoms head towards the altar. There was a difference of more than 2 hours. The person in first place had already reached the 33rd level. This was the priority of the Moon Kingdom. Although the prodigies of the other 35 kingdoms were dissatisfied, they didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, this was the Moon Kingdom. Allowing them to head to the altar was already a huge favor. In an instant, countless prodigies swarmed towards the altar like locusts. Chapter 50. The altar had a diameter of 100 miles and a height of 10,000 meters. The 9-colored radiance shrouded the altar, making it even more mysterious. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of Heaven Star Border Realm elites and Sky Prides saw it as a turning point in their lives. They wanted to obtain heaven-defying luck and opportunity and become famous here. They all rushed towards the altar. However, the difference in strength between the hundreds of thousands of elites and Sky Prides on the altar quickly became apparent. Like sand being washed away by a great wave, those with slightly weaker strength and talent were directly sent flying by the altar. What was reassuring was that although the altar sent people flying, it would not seriously injure them. The first 10 floors were like thousands of soldiers and horses crossing a single plank bridge. Lin Yi walked towards the altar at a steady pace. He was not in a hurry. After all, the altar would last for 3 days, and it would only disappear after 3 days. He firmly believed that gold would shine regardless of time. If there was a heaven-defying genius, he would eventually reach a level that ordinary people could not reach. If he did not have talent and strength, he would not be able to stand at the peak even if he was the first to reach the altar. Boom! Finally, Lin Yi arrived at the altar. Looking at the altar that reached into the sky, he felt a familiar aura. At the same time, the horrifying pressure and aura suppressed his state of mind. The altar was like a peerless treasure. After a moment of silence, He took a step forward and stepped onto the altar. Suddenly, a destructive pressure came crashing down on him. He could only unleash his cultivation to resist such pressure. After unleashing his cultivation and channeling his martial arts, he was finally able to withstand the domineering pressure. Next, he took a step forward carefully. Beside him, countless elites and sky prides were rushing towards the altar. It was as if there was a supreme treasure in front of them. It's too familiar. Could it be this sword light? After some time, the number of sky prides around Lin Yi finally decreased. At this moment, he had already reached the 38th floor. Those who could reach the 38th floor were all super geniuses. Ordinary Heaven Star Border sky prides would be stopped below the 30th floor. However, in front of Lin Yi, there were hundreds and thousands of Heaven Dipper realm experts and sky prides moving forward. However, it was extremely difficult for them to move forward. Some of the super geniuses of the Moon Kingdom's royal family had reached level 50. Of course, there were also quite a few experts and prodigies from the other 35 kingdoms who had reached the 50th level. Lin Ye's position was inconspicuous. No one even paid attention to him. After all, the position of the 38th level could only be considered average. Only geniuses and experts who had reached the 50th level and above would be noticed. When Lin Yi arrived in front of the sacrificial altar, he felt a familiar aura. The higher he went, the stronger the familiar aura became. In fact, the aura seemed to be calling to him, making him feel puzzled and curious. Finally, when he reached the 38th floor, Lin Yi realized that the sword light in his mind was exactly the same as the aura on the altar. The aura that summoned him was also related to the sword light in his mind. To be precise, there was something on the altar that was connected to the sword light. A terrifying pressure fell on him. The sword light in his mind emitted a mysterious sword intent to counteract it, making him immune to the pressure on the altar. 10 hours later, Lin Yi arrived at the 66th floor. There were only a few Heaven Dipper realm experts and sky prides around him. Huangfu Jinglei and some of the royal family's super geniuses were on the 71st floor. It was extremely difficult for them to move forward. At this rate, they would stop at the 75th floor at most. There were less than 100 experts and sky prides who had reached the 60th floor and above. Lin Yi had reached the 66th floor. He wasn't too far away from Huangfu Jinglei and the rest. He gradually became the focus of countless experts and martial artists. After all, those who could reach the 60th floor and above were all famous Heaven Dipper realm experts or sky pride. The only one they didn't know was Lin Yi. Who is that young man in green? Judging from his appearance, he's definitely only 16 or 17 years old. However, his cultivation has reached the Heaven Dipper realm stage 6. He's definitely a monster. Could he be from the Moon Kingdom's royal family? Reaching the Heaven Dipper realm stage 6 at the age of 16 or 17 is indeed a monster. However, the real monster is that he has reached the 66th floor of the altar. Perhaps he can reach the 70th floor. The 70th floor is too difficult. Not many people have reached the 70th floor since the altar appeared. There are only a few who have reached the 80th floor. As for the 99th floor, no one has ever reached it. His name is Lin Yi. He's the young palace master of Xingu College in the Yunshui Kingdom. What? He's Lin Yi? He dares to come to the Moon Kingdom's altar? That's too awesome. Countless martial artists had failed to climb the altar. However, they weren't willing to admit defeat. Hence, they stayed near the altar and waited for the altar to end. At the end of the altar, fate would descend. As long as a Heaven Dipper realm martial artist was within 100 miles of the altar, they would be able to receive it. As for how much fate they would receive, it would depend on their luck and strength. Seeing Lin Yi on the 66th floor, many experts and martial artists started to discuss. Finally, someone recognized Lin Yi's identity. Lin Ye's identity was exposed at this moment. His identity instantly shocked countless experts and sky prides. One had to know that Lin Yi was the young palace master of Xingwu College. He was also the target of the Moon Kingdom's expert. The reason was that Lin Yi was too monstrous. They didn't want to let Lin Yi grow. However, they didn't expect that not only did Lin Yi leave Xingwu College, but he also came to Shun An Prefecture. He was simply courting death. Lin Yi, Lin Yi. He's Lin Yi. He's too arrogant. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. The super experts of the Moon Kingdom were shocked when they found out that the young man in green on the altar was Lin Yi. Most of them were furious because Lin Ye's appearance here was undoubtedly the greatest provocation to them. He was ignoring their existence. Huang Fu Tianming looked at Lin Ye's figure with murderous intent. However, his murderous intent instantly disappeared. As the king of a country, he ruled over hundreds of millions of people and experts. He wouldn't treat a young man as an enemy. There were plenty of experts in the Moon Kingdom who would kill Lin Yi. What? The young palace master is on the altar of Shun An Prefecture in the Moon Kingdom? There were also countless geniuses and experts of the Yunshui Kingdom on the altar of Shun An Prefecture, and there were even many spies. Lin Yi appeared on the altar. The spies and experts of the Yunshui Kingdom used a secret technique to send this information back to Xingwu College. The 10 great elders and 3 deputy palace masters of Xingwu College all received the news. They were all shocked when they heard the news. If it were them, they wouldn't dare to appear in Shun An Prefecture at this time. How bold must he be to appear in front of countless experts of the Moon Kingdom in Shun An Prefecture? What should we do now? Elder Intian was worried. They knew that Lin Yi was a monster, especially after Lin Yi left Yunshui City. Not only was he not killed by the experts of the Moon Kingdom, but he was also alive and well. He even killed countless experts of the Moon Kingdom. Such a genius would definitely become a super expert if given some time. However, Lin Yi appeared on the altar now. He would definitely be surrounded and killed by the experts of the Moon Kingdom. It would be difficult for him to escape. Let's leave it to fate. Even if we all go to Shun An Prefecture, we won't be able to return. Even a sage wouldn't be able to travel a distance of 50,000 kilometers. Palace Master Mo shook his head helplessly. He knew the strength of the Moon Kingdom. The king was on patrol with countless super experts, millions of soldiers, and tens of thousands of Heaven Star Realm experts. It was impossible to rescue Lin Yi. Now, it's difficult for us to leave Yunshui City. Outside Yunshui City, there are countless experts in addition to the army of the Moon Kingdom. If we want to leave, we can only use the teleportation array. Even if we use the teleportation array, we can only teleport to Yunshui Kingdom. Han Lin frowned. Now, Yunshui Kingdom was under the siege of the Moon Kingdom. It was difficult to leave. Turn on the image projection, Mo Xuesong said. He asked someone to activate the projection so that he could see the scene at the Heavens Worship platform from Paladin Academy. Of course, there had to be someone at the Heavens Worship platform for the projection of the Paladin Academy. He had to ask the experts nearby to transmit the projection back. Suddenly, a clear image appeared in the Marshal Saint Palace. The image was 10 meters long and wide. They could see the scene at the altar clearly. Lin Ye's figure also appeared in their line of sight on the heavens altar in the projection. Level 67, Level 68, Level 69, Level 70. Finally, Lin Yi reached the 70th level. At this moment, only 21 people had reached the 70th level. Huang Fu Jinglei was currently on the 76th level. Every step was extremely difficult. Beads of sweat rolled down his back. It was as if he was carrying a mountain on his back. He also recognized Lin Yi. When he saw Lin Yi, Huang Fu Jinglei's eyes were extremely cold. He wanted to tear Lin Yi into pieces, but he knew that he didn't have the strength to do so. A shadow had already been left in his heart. He couldn't defeat Lin Yi in this body. Lin Yi would forever be his inner demon. He had to live under Lin Yi's shadow. What made him feel helpless was that, as the #1 genius of the Moon Kingdom, he had always been high and mighty. Countless sky prides had to lower their heads when they saw him. He didn't expect that there were 8 Heaven Star Border experts in front of him. Even if those Heaven Star Border experts were only 1 level higher than him, he still felt greatly provoked. It was as uncomfortable as if those Heaven Star Border experts were standing on top of him. He couldn't bear this feeling. Below him was Lin Yi. Above him were a few sky prides who used to be extremely respectful to him. Now they were stepping on his head. Pfft. After a cold snort, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The Moon Kingdom had always been suppressing the Yunshui Kingdom, whether it was in terms of national strength or talent. Every time the super geniuses of the Moon Kingdom went to the Yunshui Kingdom, they would trample the sky prides of the Yunshui Kingdom. However, he was beaten up like a dead dog in the Yunshui Kingdom. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.